corporations are set to receive a massive taxpayer-funded refund as it's exposed that Donald Trump's tariff plan was a massive capitalist scheme the entire time. The first part of the plan was Donald Trump implementing very obviously unconstitutional tariffs that corporations would then pass on to the consumers. And studies show that's exactly what businesses did after Donald Trump passed his tariffs. They didn't eat the cost the way that Donald Trump said they would. They passed it on to consumers and they stole it from labor. And step two was simply playing the waiting game because the Epstein class knew that the courts in the United States would strike down these obviously illegal tariffs. Then step three is the United States government deeming that it's corporations that were victims of Donald Trump's illegal tariffs, not the consumers. Now the Trump administration is offering $166 billion in refunds to corporations who raised their prices and made record amount of profits. And now the capitalist double-dipping scheme is complete. First, you create a crisis. Then you exploit the consumers. Then you manipulate the system so you can enrich yourself further using taxpayer money. The corruption in this system is by design.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, we are back once again. Welcome to Nick and I. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking. How does this not infuriate people and immediately turn them to a communist? I would never understand. Tariff refunds start today, but average consumers won't benefit. Color me shocked. Whenever the capitalist class needs a boom-bust cycle, they create one themselves. Fuck it. Dude, you guys just pillaged the working class during COVID. They can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. They are now just one with the government, not even a middleman of hiring a front politician to pass policies for them. Literally a billionaire, slumlord, is the president of the United States, cabinet full of billionaires, and they're making bank off of insider trading. The business community is booming because of these coordinated schemes by the capitalist class. This is just another coordinated Trump scheme, a Trump fraud. You create a crisis, charge consumers out the ass, use that crisis as a reason not to pay labor the proper wage. So they not only do they steal from consumers, they also steal from labor as well. And do you guys think that prices are going to drop after this? Do you guys think that we're going to benefit for any drop in prices recently? No, they're going to jack up prices even more. China look at us with our ridiculous boom bust cycles. Like, look at these fucking chimpanzees. These fucking uncivilized apes have economies designed to fail. So the capitalist class gets bailouts. CEOs gets bonuses for managing a trying time for companies. Here the BBC, Trump tariff refunds begin, but consumers likely to miss out. I explained before, the ruling class is locked in, my friends. Like this is this is the ruling class in operation. Look, U.S. to refund $166 billion in tariffs after Supreme Court ruling. The same way that Joe Biden put up a ridiculous student loan plan, that was contingent on there being an active emergency. They said they used COVID. COVID was such an emergency that granted to the president the right to cancel student loans. It was an argument that was obviously going to fail in court. And I had to explain to a few people, like, hey, didn't Joe Biden actually get rid of student debt? I'm like, no, he created the student debt loan forgiveness program to be contingent on there being an emergency. Then the Supreme Court, or whatever court struck it down, I believe it was the Supreme Court, they said, hey, man, there's no more active emergency. There's no more COVID. So now any further forgiving of student loans and pausing student loans is no longer on the table. And many liberal dipshits, they still don't realize that was by design. They still don't realize that Joe Biden they designed it in a way to fail in the court. You think that Donald Trump and the ruling class didn't do the same with the tariffs? Donald Trump was obviously pursuing unconstitutional tariffs. We know that because tariff policy is usually what Congress control. And then a lot of newscasters are like, oh my God, I can't believe Donald Trump would do this. Do he really have a legal right? Do he have a legal standing to implement these tariffs? And everyone was like, why are you guys pretending this is a question? He does not. He does not have the power to unilaterally invoke tariffs. So it was a situation where the game was rigged from the beginning. I don't know how anyone else can come with any other conclusion other than that. Because, surprise, surprise, Howard Lutnick and his sons are making bank because of this, because of the tariff refunds. Do you guys think that's a coincidence? There's the kayfabe explanation that they give us, how Donald Trump wants to make a fair trade environment. Meanwhile, Howard Lutnick and Donald Trump's financial advisors, the people that truly pull the strings, here to acknowledge and direct Donald Trump in his get-rich scheme, pay-to-play schemes. They was like, hey man, the real reason we doing this tariff so our homies can get rich in the background. That's what it's always about. Living in a capitalist society, believing it's about anything else other than enriching the ruling class itself. And now consumers, they're going to get hit with a double whammy. This is the capitalist class double dipping in their profits, as I was playing in the hotspot video. First, they made profit using disaster capitalism, taking advantage of a disastrous situation, whether it be a war, whether it be COVID, whether it be a quote-unquote madman. What's poppin', man? You know we always in the lab cooking. What's poppin', Kenneth? Thank you for the early super chat. You guys know my friend Zoya's Life will be joining me a little bit later. Rathbone join me next week. We on a bit of a bye for our new program, but Rathbone will be joining us next Wednesday. And I love our last segment that we do with Zoya, where I'll read your guys' comments because you guys always leave great comments. So the capitalist class double dip. They take advantage of disasters and incompetent leadership, engage in insider trading, charge the American people an arm and a leg, and then once the smoke clears, enough time has passes, then we're going to give you a tax-funded refund. Not to the consumers, not to the American people who suffered because of Donald Trump's incoherent decision, which was obviously coordinated now. But all right, so let me read this first. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's sons could be making 3 times to 5 times return on every dollar they spent buying tariff refund rights. Cantor Fitzgerald, now run by Lutnick's sons, Brandon and Kyle, was buying tariff refund claims from companies at 20 to 30 cents on the dollar. So come on, man. Come on. The firm told clients they had capacity to trade up to several hundred million in these claims. They confirmed at least 10 million trade was already executed as of July 2025. They said they would expect that number to balloon in coming weeks. That was 9 months ago. Today, those claims are worth 100 cents on the dollar. The refund portal is live. 166 billion in refunds are being processed. If Cantor bought 100 million in refund rights at 25 cents on the dollar, they spent 25 million. They now collect 100 million from the government. That's a 75 million return on profit, a 300% return. The entire government is a scam. And people think that having a central planning model where your only concern is the bottom line of capitalists and quarterly profit numbers, you're delusional if you think this chaotic system of government is the next evolution of human development. We want to reach the next level of human development. We're using socialism, Marxism as a way to transcend the working class to the next level of development, to the next level of prosperity. Do you think that we can compete with China in the sense that we have in our, not compete in China with the sense that we're trying to defeat them, but compete with China in the sense like how is our working class doing to China compared to China? That's what I mean when I say it. So do you think we can compete with China with having these corrupt assholes dictating policies and the only thing that matters is the profit margin of the ruling class? Speaking of the profits of the ruling class and how that leads to bad government policies, we have Palantir. Let's get to our next story. Who's been making bank off of the failed Ukraine proxy war, off of the genocide in Gaza, where Palantir, Alex Karp openly bragged about how they're making money killing people. That's sometimes that's what we do. We help kill people, aka help commit genocide, because they was providing AI targeting systems to Israel, which was used on Palestinians that had over a 95% civilian death rate. And then when people analyze the algorithms of these Palantir AI targeting system, they found that they were essentially targeting Palestinians indiscriminately. That's was their grand algorithm, just mass murder as state policy. And now we have this asshole. Look at this fucking dweeb and his stupid ass sword. Bro, what do you think you're accomplishing with that? We have this weirdo that is given massive government contracts all over the world. A company that brags about committing war crimes. And someone who's deeply disturbed. Here's the receipt. I'd just like to show you guys that sword image because I think it shows how much of a fucking weirdo and alien these people are. Learn a real martial art, for fuck's sakes. There's literally nothing least intimidating me than this fucking pencil neck corrupt nerd and his little weird ass sword that he's training with. Bro, I will smack you in the face. Learn a real martial art, sir. You're not fucking tough. But this is the psychopath we're dealing with. This is the real ruler of the West. You have the UK that is now implementing healthcare systems ran by Palantir. You have the agriculture agency. I'm trying to remember the exact what they call the United States Agriculture Committee, some shit like that. They accepted a Palantir contract where Palantir is going to be in charge of monitoring our food now. The UK has made it legal for them to use facial recognition, AI detection from companies like Palantir. This is the true master of the universe. So if you're wondering why Democrats was willing to lose to someone who they consider to be the greatest threat in the history of the United States, is because they had to continue the genocide in Gaza in order to boom the profits of Palantir, who directly benefits from the genocide in Gaza. They're the ones who benefit with never-ending war between Russia and China and Iran. Alex Karp even bragged about the fact that he convinced in head of states that future World War... Actually, let me see if I can find that article. We were talking about World War III with China and Iran. Oh, look at this. Here it is. Because I think this makes reading Palantir's manifesto even creepier. Let me zoom in. Here's from Fortune. Here's from Alex Karp, the head of Palantir. The United States will very likely fight a three-front war against Russia, China, and Iran. So it's kind of scary that this is the person who's advocating for a national military draft, the person who is salivating for a future world war, someone who's openly advocating for a clash of civilizations, which is also apparent when you read these Palantir demands. So Palantir, who makes money off of war, death, and suffering, they're now demanding that the Goy cattle slaves are forced to enlist in order to fight the wars and battles of the ruling class, just like the feudal era. You see how they return back to the era of feudalism and how these technocratic capitalists are leading to the regression of humanity, not the advancement of it. Because it was the feudal era where you had no choice but to be a slave to your lord and fight their battles and die fighting for a war that you don't understand. That's what the ruling class elites want to go back to. They want to go back to the era where you're just an ordinary peasant whose rights are given away to a supreme overlord, the supreme capitalist class. So let's dive right into it, because there's what they're saying and what they're really saying. And there's so much messaging in here, and there's very devastating bullet points. We're going to read through these now, but I'm here to translate what they're really saying as well. Number one, Silicon Valley owes a moral debt to the country that's made its rise possible. It's true that these capitalists, they owe a immeasurable debt to the ruling class, which enriched them and enabled their criminal behavior. Silicon Valley's, they do owe the government in the sense that the government have bailed them out. They bailed out criminal bankers. So here's, like, it's funny how they're saying the quiet part out loud many times. Number one is 100% them at acknowledging the class loyalties that they share with the Donald Trump. Number one is we will forever have class loyalty to the people who allow this to be possible. Because I'm going to read it, but I'm also going to interpret it for you guys. We must rebel against the tyranny of apps. That's them just being upset at their competition. A lot of these are bullshit. I don't have to cover that much. But that's them looking at the Apple Store. That's them salivating the idea of a technocratic state. Free email is not enough. What the fuck you talking about here? I think this is the idea of them being against the ruling class giving away anything for free. The limits of soft power of soaring rhetoric alone has been exposed. Now we get into some creepy shit here, because there's a lot of platitudes and virtue signaling in a lot of it. So they have some filler points here, and then they throw out some devastating shit out there to mix it in with the boring, nonchalant bullet points. Like number 4 is like, bro, what are you even saying here? That's the ruling class acknowledging that might makes right, unlimited brute force, and achieving our means through violence is something that we have to embrace. No more bullshitting around about human rights. No more bullshitting around with pretending that we're funding states using USAID. Because that's the reason why the right wing don't like USAID. Not the reason why we don't like it. Because we don't like it because it's often the front to project soft power by the United States, and they fund salaries to people to engage in regime change. They engage in quote unquote democracy advocacy, which is actually them propping up regime change elements in states that the United States want to take down. Then they fund people who fund protests. They are professional agitators against states that they don't like. The same thing that they project on Palestinian protesters. They say, oh man, these people can't be against genocide as a principle. These people can't be against the genocidal policies of our government. They must be funded by Qatar. They must be funded by the UAE. They must be funded by the Muslim Brotherhood. I can't wait to read some comments on this, because I would love to see how you guys interpret these. I'm just giving you guys just a live interpretation of reading this. I'm gonna read what you guys think as well. Leave a comment. Let me know how you think about this, because this is the agenda of the ruling class. I know. Well, the smart people understand what this really means, because this manifesto went viral all throughout the world. The dumbest people are like, oh, this is some crazy company, sounding like madmen. No, this is the agenda of the ruling class put on paper, so there's no miscommunication between a Keir Starmer, between a Friedrich Merz, a Emmanuel Macron, a Mark Rutte. This is a message by the masters, the puppets pulling the strings, so the ruling class is in sync. It's the same reason why we watch propaganda reports. It's the same reason we watch CNN, MSNBC, and these corporate media outlets that people say, oh, well, a lot of people don't watch these outlets no more. That's not the point, fam. The point of studying this, of their propaganda, is to understand the direction of the ruling class. Because so we cover the segments, the propaganda about NATO and Ukraine, because that's the policy of the liberal ruling class. Like if you watch MSNBC and Morning Joe, and we're gonna have a segment about them melting down about Russian sanctions being lifted, it allowed you to predict the foreign policy of the Democratic Party. And now you have a progressive victory. You guys remember that live stream? I can't wait to get to that segment later. I called out progressive victory and Hassan Piker, Emma Vigeland, and for essentially running a fundraiser for the Democratic Party. And their hard line for candidates that they will endorse will be based on whether they support NATO in the Ukraine proxy war. Progressive voice, they were like, we won't support any politicians unless they support NATO in the proxy war against Russia. And that's the quote-unquote progressive victory, Justice Democrats movement that Hassan Piker supports, that Emma Vigeland supports. Every single one of these progressive candidates nowadays are strongly pro-NATO. So where do you guys think they get that from? It's not about the amount of people who watch this stuff. It's not about the amount of people who read this propaganda. It's about acknowledging this is where Nina Turner gets her foreign policy. That's where Marianne Williamson gets her foreign policy regarding Ukraine. They're all NATO leftists. But anyway, let's continue to the Palantir, because we're going to get to that here very soon. You have number 5. The question is not whether AI weapons will be built. It is who will build them and for what purpose. This one is really creepy, thinking about it now, because it seems like this is their declaration towards humanity. They're telling humanity this is what's going to happen, and there's nothing that you can stop it. So they say it's not a question where we're going to build AI weapons. We're going to build killing robots. We're going to have killing robots, and there's nothing that you're going to do to stop it. We're going to have killer robots, killer drones, in a society where we choose who live and who die. And we will determine what purpose they are for. You guys are not going to dictate to us and tell us that we don't have the right to murder people. Once again, this is how I interpret this number 5 bullet point. Straight up insanity. And now their fantasies of a potential World War III conflict with Russia. This 3-front war, like this is the headline I put up earlier. Ignore the ads and all this bullshit. You know it's fortune. The U.S. will very likely fight a 3-front war against Russia, China, and Iran, which leads to bullet point number 6. And this bullet point caught a lot of attention. Because who the fuck do you think you are? a private capitalist declaring that there should be a national service. Do you guys think they want a national service because they care about your child learning skills? Do you think Alex Karp wants your child to be forced to sign up to the military because they want them to sightsee and travel the world and be enriched by the experience? No, they are demanding Goy slave foot soldiers. The ruling class has been stressing about the declining military signups, and it's been declining every single year. Now that the future generations, not even future generation, but Gen Z, younger millennials like ourselves, we know every single United States soldier is pathetic Goy cattle serving the Epstein class. United States soldiers have never had less aura than they do right now. I will have tweets saying "fuck the troops, bro," and there'll be white people like, "Yeah, fuck the troops." Like the amount of pushback I used to get for saying that is completely minimalized. Even on the right, they're like, "Man, when people like Candace Owens are saying, man, I think people need to get out of the military." So now that this illusion of choice is failing on the ruling class, they're going to force you back in the front line, just like the era of feudalism. And don't get it twisted. This is slavery. What do you call it when you are forced to provide labor when you don't want it? What would you call it if they force an entire generation? Because that's exactly what will happen. The United States has been at war for 225 years out of its 250 years of existence. So if they was to sign you up to the military and force you to fight in a war, to provide your labor for the agenda of the Epstein class, that's slavery. So Alex Karp and Palantir is calling for the mass enslavement of the working class, of the goyim. Because do you think they mean Jewish people here? No, they're going to join the IDF. They don't join the United States military, fucking stupid goy. Yeah, there have been many studies that show that the era of serfdom, they had more downtime. The fact that they was even able to raise a family, for example, like the concept of raising a family is off the table, and many people who do have children, they live in poverty. 1 out of 5 children live in poverty in America, and that's using their standards, which is a joke. But anyway, let me get back to the list. We still got a lot of cover. So number 6 is a big red flag, and this is not just Palantir saying this. This is the agenda of the ruling class. Germany, you guys know in Germany they're requiring military-aged men to ask for permission to leave the country. Let me see if I can find it. There are literally travel restrictions. Here's one article. I don't know if this is the exact article I read, but look, you guys see this is where the ruling class is going. Germany suspends military approval for long stays abroad for men under 45. So if you want to go anywhere, you got to check in with the German government. Hey, you never know when we might need cannon fodder to throw at Russia. They literally not only do they kidnap Ukrainian men off the streets, they're now taking Ukrainian men from the diaspora and deporting them back. You guys know that's been one of the main agendas of ICE, is deporting Ukrainian refugees and sending them to the front lines. This is the tragedy that the United Progressive Left supports in the United States. Once again, hold that thought. We're going to get to that here very soon. Number 7, if a U.S. Marine asks for a better rifle, we should build it, and the same goes to software. This is nothing. This is them acknowledging that they engage in a service to kill on behalf of the ruling class. Because what does a U.S. Marine use a rifle for? And they're like, hey man, the same way that a U.S. Marine uses a rifle to kill their enemies, that's how we gotta view AI. And we gotta have AI and Palantir be an extension of the weapon of the military. Public servants need not be our priest. Any business, well, essentially, that's them attacking public servants. I interpret that any public servant who doesn't bend to the will of Palantir must be discarded. Any public servant who has the audacity not to repeat our talking points and our ideology, we will dispose. That's how I read that one. Number 9, we should show more grace towards those who, oh, look at this one. We should show far more grace towards those who have subjected themselves to public life. So that's them saying, hey man, yeah, I know our ruling class is committing a genocide. I know we are mass murdering people and the government is complicit with breaking international law, but don't hold them accountable for that. How do you square number 8 and number 9? You guys are kind of incoherent here. Yeah, forgive the Epsteins. Damn, I need to read some more chats. I haven't had a chat. Yes, this is the perfect way to put it. Thank you, RKM. This is them telling you to forgive the Epstein class. Yeah, we murdered 160 plus school children in Iran. Come on, man, stop. Show some grace towards the murderers. Yeah, I think you guys are on top of it too. I need to read more of your guys' comments. I think your guys' interpretation is probably better than mine. Yeah, this is about the Epstein fella. Yeah, come on, man. He hung out with some fucking child predators, man. Show some grace. Who haven't made a mistake as a young 50-year-old man of hanging out with a sex criminal? This number 9 is probably one of the most gross ones that they put out here, because that's them essentially saying that the members of the Western ruling class, I think they really believe that they should be above the law regarding the crimes if it pursues their agenda. I need to read some of the chats. You guys are on point here. I'm working my brain to death here. 9 is also the fact that we never shed our leaders. Oh, our leader. Yeah, this is a good point. Our leaders are appointed by God to rule us. We can write a whole book on number 9, bro. Like, because these are the same people who will advocate for harsh implementation of the law, harsh law and order to the working class, the struggling peasant who steals a loaf of bread, steals to feed his family. And they would throw the book at them because they said we had to have a no tolerance policy when it comes to crime. Meanwhile, Joe Biden can steal in an Iranian tanker. They can seize shit. You guys know that happened under the Biden administration too, by the way. We covered it. How they were seizing Iranian ships. And they said, oh, look, you violated sanctions, our made-up rule called sanctions, so we're going to seize your ship. And then liberals wondering why Donald Trump is doing the same thing. Everything that Donald Trump is doing was paid by Joe Biden and Barack Obama and his predecessors. Now, I don't want to make it about red and blue. It was paid by his predecessors. Because Obama and Biden engaged in piracy, mass piracy. So they will punish a worker for theft, but the ruling class is allowed to engage in piracy. You can't judge them. You got to show them grace. God knows what the fuck they talking about here. The cyclicalization of modern politics is leading us astray. Those who look to political arena to nourish their soul and sense of self. So this is them essentially saying, stop thinking for yourself. Stop developing your own morals and belief, and turn your brain off and become just goy cattle who listen to everything that Grok tells you to listen to. Anything that AI tells you. If you ask AI a question, you turn your brain off. Stop thinking deep in a psychological way about how you view these issues. Just shut up and allow us to do the thinking. Our society has grown too eager to hasten and often glee at the demise of its enemies. This, I think I can skip this one. This is bullshit because you guys are the one who engaging in mass murder of your quote unquote enemies. So once again, there's a lot of platitudes here, and I don't think there's a lot of thought needed here. The atomic age is ending. Once the age of deterrence, the atomic age is ending. So that's them saying, yeah, we don't make nuclear weapons, but we do make murder bots. So you don't worry about nukes, but we will have our AI weapons. And look at number 13. You guys know I couldn't wait to get to 13. What kind of shit is this? No other country in the history of the world has advanced progressive values more than this one. Bro, this is a country funded off genocide. This is a country built off genocide. China is a superpower. And name me one country that China invaded, any genocide that China committed. China is the only superpower in human history that became a superpower without engaging in mass slaughter and mass bloodshed. Meanwhile, they want you to believe that it's the United States, not the Soviet Union, who paved the way for many progressive policies that many countries will steal from them. Like, will liberal acknowledge that the Soviet Union was one of the first countries that actually legalized abortion, for example? Paid maternity leave, all the social benefits that Russia benefits from for today was paved and carved by the Soviet Union, who funded liberation movements all throughout the world. Meanwhile, they want you to believe the most progressive society the world has ever seen is one of the last countries who banned slavery, and the country who still refused to pay reparations to the descendants of slaves after stealing untold trillions of dollars of their labor value. Lenin, yeah, paid holidays as well. But it would be a whole live stream if I was to talk about the advancement that the Soviet Union gifted upon humanity. And the fall of the Soviet Union has been one of the most devastating moments in human history. Because now the capitalist class don't even have to give a fuck no more. There's no one to compare themselves to. Why do you guys think it's a coincidence that child poverty exploded in the United States? Homelessness exploded in the United States after the fall of the Soviet Union? Do you guys think it's a coincidence that the Clintons engaged in welfare reform, which directly led to the explosion of child poverty in the United States, that after they didn't have a Soviet Union to compare their society to? The fall of the Soviet Union was one of the greatest W's by the United States ruling class ever, by the genocidal Epstein regime. American power has made possible an extraordinarily long peace. Now, this goes to the twisted ideology, which also kind of connects to 13. Because Donald Trump keeps saying he's ending these wars. And I think this is how I would interpret this one as well. Donald Trump said we ended all these wars. We ended the war in Gaza. We ended the war in Iran. But think about the cost of that. So according to Donald Trump and the Western ruling class, creating peace comes after mass slaughtering your enemies. Yeah, we're going to commit a genocide. We're going to bomb other countries. We're going to mass murder like we did in Venezuela. And then after all the undesirables have been killed, then we can declare an era of peace. They will then declare themselves as a peacemaker. That is what Donald Trump and the ruling class truly believe. So when they look at 14, that's what they view as the peace in the modern era. The 38 million people who died due to the United States sanctions, that was worth it. That's the idea of the sanctions on Iraqi children, on Iraq that murdered 500,000 children, was worth it. That's the idea that destroying hospitals in Gaza in order to create peace for Israel is worth it. And this is what they will continue to do. They will continue in mass slaughter. They will continue to subjugate the world. And the result of that, and after all their enemies and their children and their family are murdered off, they will then say, oh, see, this is the result of our action and us bringing peace to the region. That is what they did to Africa and the global south. They create slave markets, armed terrorist groups, come in, don't solve the problem, and then they say, look at all this peace and look at all this civilization that we brought you guys. But let's continue. We need to move on because I'm getting to the segment pretty long now. I'm gonna speed wrap this up. Let's continue to read this, but I probably won't spend as much time on every single bullet point because I think at this point they kind of repeat themselves. But number 15, oh, look at this one. Actually, this one I will spend a little bit of time on. This is what I've been covering in detail on our channel: the militarization of the world, the return of Imperial Japan, how Germany is becoming remilitarized after their Nazi sins. Look at what Palantir, they openly admit it. They openly admit that they need to make German and Japan fascism great again. The post-war neutering of Germany and Japan must be undone. They said the defanging of Germany was an overcorrection. Same with Japanese pacifism. So they want to return to might makes right. They want to return the enemies who are responsible for untold amount of death and destruction. Nazi Germany, Imperial Japan. Palantir would love to see that kind of militarism return because they profit off of it. Number 15 is really, really sick. Make German and Japanese fascism great again. This is clear by the way NATO is moving, the way they've been pushing for Japan to remilitarize as a check to China. Let me just finish these up because we still got plenty of stuff to cover. We should applaud those who attempt to build where the market fails to act. We should applaud people who engage in mass monopolization of markets. Silicon Valley must play its role in addressing violent crime. Here's the police state. Here's the police state that Palantir is advocating for, and Democrats are actively implementing via cop cities. So the same way they're calling for mass militarization, and the same way they're calling for massive police states to develop all over the West. Now, pair this up with the fact that they're calling for mass anti-Semitism laws and cracking down on free speech, which they call as providing material support for terrorist groups. That's what they want to bring to the United States. That's why they're arresting teenagers in Florida for making jokes about Netanyahu. So when they say violent crime, that is not what they're talking about. They talk about thought crimes. They talk about controlling the proletariat. They don't give a damn about violent crime. With all these massive police budgets and giant technocratic states that they're building, they're not preventing women from being raped. They don't prevent people from being murdered. They're here to spy on left groups, organizations. Any anti-fascist movement will be spied on. Black organizers in particular are also targeted. And that's what the Black Congressional Caucus is teaming with Trump and Palantir in order to implement. The ruthless exposure of the private lives of public figures drives far too much talent away from government service. Now we back to take it easy on the Epstein class, guys. Come on, guys. I know they're engaging in debauchery and hedonist behavior, the same behavior that they claim to oppose and they project on the working class. Yeah, I know they commit genocide, they engage in mass rape. They engage in rape and sexual assault so much that they need a private congressional slush fund in order to settle their sexual assault cases. But come on, guys, we need to stop prying into their lives. Once again, taking it easy on the ruling class while implementing a technocratic police state for the working class. The caution in public life that we unwittingly encourage is corrosive. The caution? I think that's just them saying, hey man, if you're a member of the ruling class, grant Palantir AI contracts. Stop worrying about the future. Yeah, I know we are causing a steep rise in energy prices. Stop being cautious. Just give us a fucking contract already. Yeah, we murdered children and civilians. Stop being cautious. The pervasive intolerance of religious belief in certain circles must be resisted. Guys, stop opposing Jewish supremacist ideology and Zionism. Do you guys think they're talking about Islam here? When anti-Arab hate and anti-Muslim sentiment is just allowed in Western life and society, where Randy Fines are considered well-established, well-meaning public figures. No, this is them saying stop criticizing our genocidal Zionist beliefs. That's how I read this part. Because there's nothing tolerant about these people. Now we get into the darkness. Now we get into the true darkness here. Now we get into this Epstein level race science. Hitler-esque race science. Some cultures have produced vital advances. Others remain dysfunctional and regressive. Who do you guys think are the regressive and dysfunctional cultures? I bet he would include Iran in that. You know, the country that educates their women instead of forcing them to become OnlyFans whores? I don't know. I think the culture that is the most rotten is the culture that allowed a Jeffrey Epstein to exist. You know, the culture where news stations like Fox News killed investigations into Jeffrey Epstein? I think the worst cultures in the world are the ones who have an FBI who refuse to follow up on tips regarding child sex trafficking. Western governments helping the Catholic Church engage in mass child rape is another one. How about the Israelis that use dogs as a way to rape humans? They use rape as a tool of war. I think these are the kind of cultures that we should be critical of. Do you think that's the culture that he's talking about? No, they're just straight up race science and eugenics. And the Palantir founders like Alex Karp and the white supremacists like Elon Musk, they put themselves on top of this hierarchy that they want to bring back. They said, man, enough of this believing that we're one species and one overall race known as humanity. We need to acknowledge that some are better and some are lesser. And then once they establish the lesser races, that then give them what they will pursue as the right to do whatever they want to the lesser race, meaning mass extermination, the way they did to the Palestinians. Who cares if we implement a police state to those lesser blacks? Yeah, the black people, they're a lesser race, so we need a police state to contain them. Number 22, dinner one, skip this one, this is bullshit. We must resist the shallow temptation of vacant and hollow pluralism. Talking about defining national cultures. So I think that goes back to number 21. He dropped the idea that there's these equal races. There are lesser races, and then there's us, the choosing overlords of this system. Palantir. Palantir's manifesto sounds like a ramblings of a supervillain. You're not wrong. But this is the ideology that the ruling class that you work for. If you work for the Guardian, this is what they believe, my friend. And what does it say that the UK is now implementing a full blown police state off of the direction of a Palantir? Look, the Metropolitan Police has won a judicial review into the use of live facial recognition across London. I think this is very dire timing considering the manifesto being released. But you guys see how the UK government, how the Labour Party in the UK, they read the manifesto of Palantir, and they're like, bet, let's implement that police state that they're talking about. All right, well, let's say I think we can end that segment. Zoya's love, Zoya is life. Let's take we just have a quick intermission. Zoya, you there? There we go. What's poppin', my friend? Zoya is always there when I need her the most. What's poppin', my friend?
Oh, wow. What a manifesto. Let's get into the comments.
Yeah. And let's see what you guys say about it. I'm also going to cover the liberal meltdown over Trump lifting Russian sanctions. And then we're going to get to how progressive Democrats are swearing their loyalty to NATO. And in even a more aggressive way than they did before. So those are segments coming up. But as I prepare those, Zoya, you mind taking it from here?
No problemo. Kenneth Walker, thank you for the $5. Here to listen to you cook, Nick. And he's always cooking. John Kemper, peace to you. Serene Valor, RBN coming in with the actual news. Keep bringing the truth. We'll bring the audience. Well, YouTube's going to work against you. As Dean, Nick, peace. Bryce Smith, always good to see you, comrade. What up, Nick? Billy Joy, greetings, comrade Nick. Looks environmental. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nick. Red Scare Claire. Fuck no, pardon my English. You can speak freely here. We don't have to be polite about the way that they're treating us. Don Hooligan, eat the rich, but remember to compost. Oh, so environmentally friendly. See how considerate you guys are. RKM, education is the best investment. Yes, absolutely. And by that, I don't mean get any college debt or pay the system, but there are a lot of free resources for us to always be bettering ourselves. Ahmad Sulvi Fafiru. No wonder progressives, liberals, left, right are colluding with NATO. Molotov for you. Not only did the American working class pay the cost of tariffs that companies passed on to us, now we get to pay to bail these, I'm just going to read that as sons of bitches out. It's infuriating. It really is how they rigged the whole system against the working class. As Dean, Palantir was used in Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran. Absolutely. They're refining their technology, coming to a United States near you. CBC voter, Nick Cruse, thank you for the shout out. Love seeing all of the people that have been with us for years. Serene Valor, he's so cringe, yet he thinks he's so cool, referring to Carp. Yeah, it's really these antisocial kind of people that display unhealthy signs of mental fitness. Indified, Silicon Valley sociopath pedos with the 4th largest GDP via California. Yep. Crazy Cat, peasants got 154 days off every year. I don't know. I've never heard that particular stat, but definitely they had a lot of privileges we no longer do. Boyksite, taxpayers funded the rise of Silicon Valley. Yep, we pay for our own demise. That's what they make us do. Spiffity Keen, we're living in corporate fiefdoms already. Most people can't make a living working for the betterment of the communities in which they live. That's really sad, which is why we have to reinvent our communities. They are not going to do that for us. Beezus Quimby, no more using words to appeal to you. Now we use hard power. Imperialism turned inwards. The tankies were right once again. RKM, the limits of Hasbara have been reached. We now need AI drones. Kenneth Locke, forced democracy is like consensual rape. Absolutely. A total contradiction like capitalism is. Nick, you want me to keep going or are you ready to get back into it?
I think I'm ready. I appreciate it, Zoya. Let's get right to our next segment. I don't want anyone to be confused about how much of a failure this war in Iran has been for the United States. There's a lot of establishment spin, and I mean, I've seen it on CNN, MSNBC, whatever. Like, well, at least we murdered a lot of Iranian leaders. Oh, well, we degraded their missile system. Oh, we destroyed their navy, and then Iran continues to have a successful blockade and seize ships like they did today. I want people to understand the complete and utter strategic defeat that Iran forced on the United States in coordination with the overall axis of resistance. Because one of the key goals of the neocon class was to pull India away from the axis of resistance. Now, we have a lot of criticism of India and Modi. Obviously, they have a very repressive government. But the shift from India being a diehard loyal Western state to them ignoring warnings about buying Russian gas and pursuing that and essentially funding the Russian war effort against Ukraine, that was a giant geopolitical shift, because ever since the Reagan years really ramped up during Clinton in the 90s, they wanted to make this big push to turn India into a pro-Western state. That's completely died. Not only because of the war in Ukraine, but the war in Iran has made it even worse, to the point where the United States waived sanctions so they can maintain a positive relationship with India. Because they were like, hey, India, we're going to forbid you from buying Russian gas. That's what they said at first. And India was like, no, the fuck you won't. Go do something about it. So then Donald Trump, in a Trumpian way, he was like, well, all right, fuck it. We lift the sanctions on Russia. Hey, guys, we're allowing India to buy Russian oil and gas. I mean, they was already down to do that in the first place. So losing India, giant geopolitical blunder. The petrodollar being dismantled because Iran is only allowing ships to pass. They are not supporting the United States, but if they do pass in the Straits of Hormuz after paying a toll, all transactions are going to be made in the Chinese yuan. Russia and China engaging in trade, not using the United States dollar. De-dollarization has ramped up exponentially over the last few years, but now that it's seen that the United States can just engage in piracy against Iran, that they can engage in economic strangleholds against countries who refuse to bow to the greater Israel Zionist demand, that made countries even more likely to turn away from the United States dollar, and it has greatly harmed the dollar as a reserve currency. What have I missed? Because we were just scratching the surface on how all these actions of the Trump administration has been a massive blunder for the United States empire. And it proves that the people who said that Trump is the accelerist candidate was 100% right. I guess I stopped myself there because Biden was a pretty good accelerist. I mean, he turned so many people off the Democratic Party, hastened the decline of the empire. People have no idea how much the Biden administration and the Trump administration have been working hand to hand. I have a clip later where I'm going to show you guys how the Democratic Party and Biden officials openly admit that if Kamala won, they plan on doing the same thing as Trump and Iran. Donald Trump is now invading Cuba after escalating their blockade. But Joe Biden continued the policies that Donald Trump had on Cuba and extended his hardline policies against Cuba. And when Cuba officials was asked about this, they said, "Hey guys, you realize that Joe Biden is implementing the Cuban blockade just as strongly as Donald Trump did in his first term." These are real things that they said. So I think we can embrace a little bit of Trump derangement syndrome, but you guys know on our channel, we're going to keep everything in perspective. And the perspective that we all should have is that the ruling class work in tandem together, and by working into tandem together, they have completely put the United States in a horrific position and only emboldened Russia and Putin and Xi Jinping, who played Joe Biden and Donald Trump like the fools that they are. And that leads to the meltdown. Here's Zelensky condemning the U.S. extension of the Russian sanctions waiver. So for the people who believe this war is going well for the United States, can you explain why we dropped sanctions on Iran? Can you explain why we dropped sanctions on Russia? And we are allowing our allies to buy Russian gas. You know, Donald Trump gave permission for European countries to buy Russian gas in this time. So you're funding your own war effort. Russia is providing intelligence and targeting for the Iran, and God knows what other assistance that is being kept secret and classified. You guys are directly funding your opposition, which is great to see for us, but it just shows how much of an idiot you are and how unplanned is actually what has been for you guys. The Straits of Hormuz, which was already Iranian sovereignty, now they're going to be charging the pole, and they're going to enrich themselves to the point where they're going to be an undeniable, not just regional superpower, but global superpower. Yes, Zoya. Who the fuck asked Zelensky? You guys see Zelensky is seething. Zelensky himself, who's like, "Hey guys, if you need anything against Iran, I got you," because Ukraine is very proud of their drone technology. So all the Palestine Ukraine supporters, like we're going to touch on here very soon, are the dumbest people in politics, because Zelensky brags about providing drone techs to the genocidal Israelis. He's helping the United States wage war against Iran as they're again wiped clean in Russia. More evidence that their goal was never victory in Ukraine, but just to slightly weaken Russia. So you want to know who's not handling these massive geopolitical L's by the United States well? My favorite propaganda show. This is the voice of the ruling class, by the way. I know Morning Joe has like 12 boomers watching it, but this is where the ruling class, the Democratic Party, gets their ideology from, directly from Morning Joe. They're the ones who are allowed to dive deep into foreign policy. So let's do so before we roast the progressive left, because the progressive left supports Joe Scarborough 100%. Yeah, nightmare blood rotation. Look at these neocons. This is a Klan meeting, as far as I'm concerned. That John Kirby. Look at John Kirby at the bottom right. This is a fucking Klan rally. Like, liberals actually believe that these people are our allies. To me, they're no different than the Klan. They're white supremacists. You're gonna see them. They're gonna call they're gonna call it the Iran regime. Like, whenever you hear someone says the Iran regime, they're damn near white supremacists. Only white people are allowed to have governments. Anyone who resists us is a regime. That's what I hear when I hear that stuff. But let's dive into it. What I'm waiting for, you guys, the title of this video is Trump is doing everything he can to help Putin. So Joe Scarborough is going to have a full-blown meltdown over the fact that Russia is the clear victor, not only in the proxy war against NATO, but in this Iranian quagmire that the Western ruling class got themselves in. So to me, I will listen to this segment, and there's a lot of segments that's infuriating, but to me, this segment was hilarious because this segment was just pure coat mode.
Says it will retaliate after the U.S. military attacked and seized an Iranian cargo ship yesterday. The president claimed on social media that the ship was attempting to get past the American blockade of Iran's ports and coastline. That action is threatening a second round of peace talks for planned for today in Pakistan. The White House says Vice President J.D. Vance is leading the delegation after President Trump initially told reporters yesterday the vice president would not be traveling to the Middle East. But a spokesman for the Iranian Foreign Ministry has said that Iran has no plans for another round of negotiations with the U.S. All of this has oil prices rising this morning, with markets in both the U.S. and internationally jumping 5%, sitting right now at around $88 and $96 a barrel. The Trump administration, meanwhile, has again lifted sanctions on Russian oil for 30 days. That is despite Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent ruling out that move, vowing to rule it out while speaking to reporters Wednesday at the White House.
We will not be renewing the general license on Russian oil, and we will not be renewing the general license on Iranian oil. Because again, that was oil that was on the water prior to March 11th. Right.
So let me get this straight. What Iran was asking, what they was asking for, that you deemed to be unacceptable before, was to lift Iranian sanctions in exchange for a nuclear deal. They had a religious fatwa on nuclear weapons, so they didn't want to use it in the first place. That was the Obama nuclear deal. And during the Biden administration, where Biden continued the policies of Donald Trump, he was just simply asked, the Iranian was asking Anthony Blinken, like, hey man, we want to return to the same deal that you signed as vice president with Obama. We just want you to lift the sanctions first. We're not going to fucking be compliant in any nuclear deal while we're under sanctions because you guys violated deal, not us. You guys know it was Joe Biden that said no. That's why he didn't get back in the nuclear deal. Joe Biden continued the Trump administration policy and said, yo, we're going to keep sanctions on you. And while you're compliant, we're not going to lift the sanctions until you've been compliant and you pass multiple inspections. It was a hardline position that they knew that the Iranians would not accept. You got to see how everything that led up to this moment came from multiple administrations. It came from the Biden administration keeping sanctions unlifted, keeping sanctions on Iran. So now the Trump administration, while they're waging this war to get rid of Iran nuclear facilities, now they say, oh, well, we got to lift sanctions on Iran. If you did that in the first fucking place, we wouldn't be in war. And that's according to you guys' deranged demands that you put on the Iranian people. And the anti-imperialist left, we've been fucking pulling our hair out. Because Iran has been extremely motivated to find peace with the West. They've been way nicer than many people claim they should have been, because many anti-imperialists and many people who are cheering for people who are victims of sanctions and Western aggression, we've been calling for them to build a fucking bomb. Listen to Kim Jong-un. Embrace Juice ideology, for fuck's sakes. He gave you guys a roadmap on how not to be fucked with by the United States. Build a fucking bomb. Stop listening to these bullshit crybabies in the West and establish deterrence. But doesn't it show how patient and how peace-loving the Iranian people are? Because I would never hold it against them for everything they have done, because they are lovers of peace. But this willingness to prevent war and conflict at all costs, the West took advantage and manipulated. That's why Iran don't trust them. That's why they're drawing hard lines in the sand now. All this would have been prevented if your guys' dumbass lifted the sanctions in the first place and had friendly and normal relationship with the Iranian people, which would have been possible if our government wasn't hijacked by Jewish supremacists that had to keep Iran in check in order for a greater Israel project. Don't believe any other bullshit they say about protecting the Iranian people. It's about none of that bullshit. It's about taking down Iran, who is a counterbalance towards Israeli military dominance. Anyway, let's continue the segment.
So all that has been used.
So it's very clear. Donald Trump is doing everything he can do to help Vladimir Putin.
Bro, the Russia Gate, we would never be free of the Russia Gate. Fam, he is waging war against a state that Russia signed bilateral pacts with, that have international relations with. And they're still saying that Donald Trump is doing everything that Putin wants. Bro, he took out Nicolas Maduro, a close ally of Vladimir Putin, but Democrats and liberals still can't stop with the Russia gating. This is their analysis. As Donald Trump is waging war against an ally of Putin and supporting the war, the proxy war in Ukraine that is killing Russians, and he refused to cut off Zelensky in Ukraine, you have these shit lips still saying that Donald Trump is a tool and agent of Russia. So let's continue the Morning Joe meltdown.
So it's very clear. Donald Trump is doing everything he can do to help Vladimir Putin. At a time when Vladimir Putin finds himself backed into a corner because of an ongoing war in Ukraine, a war that he thought was going to be over in 3 days, that continues to drag on year after year. The Trump administration has been lying for over a year, saying that Donbass is about to fall. They've continued to lie about Russia's ability. They've continued to lie about how strong Russia is. They've continued to lie about how strong Vladimir Putin is. They've continued to lie about how the Ukraine...
Bro, this is pure and utter fucking cope, bro. This is just pure cope. NATO is getting dominated in Ukraine, bro. You guys are forced to kidnap Ukrainian people in the diaspora. They did what they wanted to accomplish. That was to liberate the Donbass region, which they have control over. The Luhansk and Donetsk, the Donbass region don't want to be part of the fascist Ukrainian government. That's why they welcome the Russian government. That's why they voted via referendum. The Ukrainian government has been wiped out to the point where you guys have to force conscription and kidnap people off the streets. But you guys see how they got to make up these victories? This is, once again, just pure liberal code.
Fall. They've continued to lie about Russia's ability. They've continued to lie about how strong Russia is. They've continued to lie about how strong Vladimir Putin is. They've continued to lie about how the Ukrainians have to back down and do everything they can and just hope for a peace deal with the Russians. They've continued to lie about the strength of the economy. The Russian economy is in tatters. They've continued to lie about Putin's stability in Russia. It is at an all-time low right now. And so what do? They give him another 30-day lifeline after lying to the American people about not giving him another 30-day lifeline. It just continues. This war could be over. Putin could have been forced to the negotiating table. I know a lot of people in the past said Putin's going to do what Putin's going to do. A deal could have been struck. But you know, Donald Trump himself and people around him continue to despise the freedom fighters, continue to despise the Ukrainians, continue to despise Zelensky, continue to despise the very people that were invaded by Vladimir Putin's Russian invaders. And as I've said time and time again on this program, if they didn't hate the Ukrainian freedom fighters so much, they wouldn't have stumbled blindly into Iran thinking that they were going to be able to just knock Iran over in 3 or 4 days or in 2 weeks. They would have looked at what the Ukrainians did, like the Secretary of Army, and said, my God, they've changed the very face of warfare. And in changing the very face of warfare, they have sent a real warning signal to us, which we will take heed of. And the president keeps making up wars that he ended when he...
Bro, Ukraine is facing a full-blown population collapse. You guys see how little they actually care about the suffering the Ukrainian people are going through because you guys refuse to negotiate for peace? I covered on this show, on the channel, how they are kidnapping Ukrainian diaspora refugees because they are struggling with manpower so much, and Russia's just chilling. And we know that Ukraine is getting dominated on the battlefield because they have prisoner exchanges and they exchange dead bodies all the time. You guys know that, like, the ratio between like dead Ukrainian soldiers and dead Russian soldiers, Russia would release 50 dead Ukrainian soldiers versus like one Russian soldier. These exchanges happen all the time. That's why when they try to lie about massive Russian casualties, you can look at the exchange of the dead. I want to see if I can find this article I was reading about it. Like the overwhelming difference. Let me see if I can find an article on this. This was Russia Ukraine exchange 1,000. So, oh, god damn it, ad blocked. I wonder if I can find one. Look, this rate, Russia handed 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers to Kyiv. Meanwhile, Moscow received a body of 35. Jesus fucking Christ. Dude, that's a fucking 35 to 1,000 ratio. And it happens every month. I just found the most recent article I can find, guys. Every month they have these crazy rates. Are you guys telling me that Ukraine is just hiding the Russian body somewhere for some reason? The point I'm making, the point that everyone knows who followed this war, is that Ukraine is they never stood a chance. They're being completely wiped out. The military-industrial complex is salivating because this is a way for them to test battlefield innovations. And that's what actually kind of morbidly what Joe Scarborough is actually talking about here. You guys see the headline where he's talking about, he said how Ukraine changed the way humans fight wars. That's the battlefield innovation that they use Ukrainians as guinea pigs over. I want to see if I can find some. You guys see how this is how the neocons brag about it. This is from the Atlantic Council. The art of war is undergoing a technological revolution in Ukraine. Let's see if I can find another one. There's an article I'm looking for in particular. I use it all the time. That explain how they're using Ukraine as a way to test battlefield innovations. Here's one that's similar. How Ukraine's front line became a laboratory for drone innovation. So the military-industrial complex, and the reason why it's so important for them to keep the Ukraine war going, is not about liberating the Ukrainian people. They don't give a fuck about the Ukrainian society as a whole. Is about modernizing the military, testing to see what works in modern military, seeing what the Russians are capable of because they need to measure modern Russian military capacity, while at the same time finding cannon fodder to sacrifice themselves in order to weaken Russia. And do you see how proud Joe Scarborough is about this? You guys see how happy liberals are to talk about the sacrifice that Ukrainians made in order to achieve these battlefield innovations? Because they don't talk about this. This is what I was reporting on earlier. Man, all these websites are ad blocked like a motherfucker. Look. Well, this Reuters article says how Ukraine stares down the barrel of a population collapse. Let's see if I can find an article that's not ad blocked. Ukraine population collapse. Well, I think this is... Here you go. Here's an article that's not fucking horrible, like Reuters. Ukraine stares down the barrel of population collapse. This is never even calculated, bro. Whenever they talk about the consequences of the Ukraine war, they're not talking about the Ukrainians that has been kidnapped off the streets and forced to fight this war. It's all about, hey, look at the way that Ukraine changed warfare. Look at all this death and destruction and what we are capable of. The real people who care about the Ukrainians are the people who've been advocating for the end of this war. to respect the sovereignty of the Donetsk and Luhansk region. The ethnic Russians who don't want to be part of the Jewish supremacist Zionist Ukrainian government that banned the right to collective bargaining rights, that banned socialist parties. If you are a socialist and peace lover, you are what we do, we respect the sovereignty of states and people. So when Crimea voted overwhelmingly to be part of Russia, to the point when Russia quote unquote annexed Crimea, they say Russia committed the sin of annexing Crimea. You gotta know when Russia did that, the Crimea military laid down their arms and happily welcomed the Russians, because Crimea wanted to be Russian, not Ukrainian. The same with the Donbass. You cannot call yourself an anti-imperialist if you don't respect the Donbass referendum. With multiple international agencies, you guys think they wasn't watching this shit like a hawk? The BBC was running segments and stories about how it's going to be rigged no matter what. And they was claiming that the Donbass referendum was going to be rigged before it happened because they knew what the result was going to be. These mostly Russian speakers, they will choose to be an independent Russian state versus being part of Ukraine. So Ukraine, just like Israel, is denying the sovereignty of Russian-speaking ethnic Russian Ukrainians and denying them statehood. What does that remind you of? I tell people all the time, the Ukrainians are not the Palestinians. The Ukrainian government are the Israelis. The ethnic Russians are the Palestinians. They was victims of mass slaughter by the fascist Ukrainian regime as they revolted after the Maidan coup. These are the lessons that the progressive left don't even acknowledge. And I'm looking directly at progressive victory, because I think I showed all the meltdowns from Joe Scarborough that I wanted. Do you remember these guys? This is the new Democratic Party PSYOP. Progressive victory. I did a diss track on them a few weeks ago. It was definitely a diss track because I saw this shit. I was like, bro, this is beyond fucking cringe. I think I clipped it as well. I clipped a video explaining how the NATO left plans to save the Democratic Party. And look at who's part of this. Crystal Ball, Emma Vigeland. They all these progressive candidates. Look, Hassan Piker, the voice of the United States left, my friends, working as an agent of the Democratic Party. This segment is essentially my I told you so segment. I warned people about this shady group, and Hassan Piker in particular, who's a part of this group. Because you know who progressive victory have? They did this whole live stream. They had Valshan, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? You inviting someone who admitted that he sexually harassed women? The pedophile Valsh, the guy who said that NATO is a liberation movement? The guy who coined the term Biden anarchist. He was like, I'm a Biden anarchist. And narco-Bidenism, I believe he called it. The same guy who advocated for the left to support Joe Biden because that's revolutionary action, supporting Joe Biden. That's why he's a narco-Bidenist. And after advocating to his followers to vote for Joe Biden, he then became complicit in a genocide. He voted for a genocide. Now all of a sudden he's a super anti-Zionist now. Who condemns Hamas still, by the way. And he was able to rehabilitate his image after supporting genocide by pretending to hate Israel, even though he's literally supported one of the most pro-Zionist tickets of all time. Kamala Harris, who married her AIPAC handler husband. Joe Biden, whose entire career is owed to AIPAC and Jewish supremacists funding him. So I saw this live stream, I was like, bro, what the fuck? They got fucking Ryan Grimm. the snake Ryan Grimm. They have prominent NATO leftist Nina Turner. They have Graham Plattner, the war criminal, who you guys know he bragged about peeing on people that he murdered in Afghanistan. They like the kind of deranged stuff that Graham Plattner said. He have neo-Nazi tattoos because he was part of the Crusades in the Middle East, the modern Crusades. And he used to brag about it. He like, I used to love murdering people. He bragged about how they used to pee on them and shit. And this is the new progressive candidate nowadays. Ben Dixon, bro, he was like one of the original feuds I had. He hated the fact that I used to call out Ilhan Omar and Cori Bush. So you had all the NATO leftists. Yeah, I think either like Ro Khanna was there as well. I took his like you got Kyle Kalinske, who's calling for a national divorce. He wants to split this country up because the whole country won't vote blue. Ro Khanna, who I took his law degree. The same way I stole Dr. Cornel West's, and I shouldn't say still, I seized his doctorate degree the same way I seized Ro Khanna's law degree because I exposed Ro Khanna's fraudulent ideology regarding the Ukraine proxy war. So why am I talking about this? Why am I bringing these losers up again? Because it's important to know who these people are and their plan, because this is their strategy to rehabilitate the Democratic Party post-genocide. Why do you guys think that they are propping up Hassan Piker? People were like, Nick, what do you mean propping up? Isn't he being attacked by the deeply unpopular Democratic Party? I told you guys that politics is just like professional wrestling. What do you guys think will happen to the popularity of someone when a party that is deeply underwater and they're deeply unpopular Democratic attack dogs start attacking Hassan Piker? You guys think a game is not being played on you right now? The guy who got glowing media articles about him, saying how he's the Joe Rogan of the left, the alpha male on the left. Them, that is what you call a typical heel putting over a babyface. Now I'm going to talk some nerdy shit to you guys. If you don't know what pro wrestling is, I tell you guys that American politics is just like pro wrestling. So if you want to get a babyface over, you team them up with a heel. A heel will attack a babyface and make a heel look better by a comparison. So you have a Neera Tanden attack Hassan Piker, who is a NATO leftist and advocates taking over the Democratic Party, and attack Jill Stein. You have someone like Neera Tanden attack Hassan. You have all these shitlibs attack Hassan. So it will give Hassan's endorsement of AOC more weight later. The fact that people do not see this coming is crazy. You prop him up, you act like a heel, you make him the babyface, you make him look good by comparison. And then when he endorses AOC, the NATO leftist betrayer who is hated by the left, it gives him even more legitimacy. It gives him even more legitimacy when he attends the live streams propping up pro-war candidates. And I'm not exaggerating. The Progressive Victory is a pro-war movement. Because you want to know what they posted today? This is in response of Jose Vega. You guys know our friend Jose Vega running against Richie Torres, who is not only a staunch anti-Zionist, he also anti-NATO. So Progressive Victory endorses a Zionist over our friend Jose Vega. You want to know why? Because they have a strict litmus test. In order to be endorsed by Progressive Victory, and by extension Hassan Piker, Vouch, and the entire progressive movement, they say you must swear undying loyalty to NATO. So every single person that was put on these banners, every single person like Hassan Piker who attended this event, by extension is a NATO leftist. Check this out. I can't believe they told on themselves like this. Look, the Progressive Victory endorsement process, effective immediately. No candidates will receive any endorsement from Progressive Victory during the primary unless they are committed to defending Ukraine against Russian imperial occupation by providing both humanitarian and defensive aid to Ukraine. So in order to be part of Progressive Victory, and all their candidates, every single candidate that they endorsed, every single candidate that was on the live stream with Crystal Ball, endorsed by Breaking Points, endorsed by Majority Report, endorsed by Hassan Piker, they must support Nazis in Ukraine. So they have will you support imperialism as their litmus test. And is anyone surprised? Because doesn't that explain everything? That explains why they have Vouch on. Let's explain why they have Matt Duss. Well, actually, I don't know they have Matt Duss. Let me take that back. I don't think I see his picture here. I'm pretty sure they did though, but I take that back. But that's why they have Vouch. That's why they have Cori Bush, who supported Biden's war on Ukraine. You want to know why Cori Bush supported Joe Biden's war against Ukraine? It's because she had a philosophical evaluation of the area of the Donbass and a legitimate critique of Russian military aggression. No, she admitted publicly that the reason why she supported the war on Ukraine is because Joe Biden told her so. That she's a shill here to take orders on behalf of from the Democratic Party. This is why Vouch is part of it. Vouch, who I said earlier, openly said that NATO is a revolutionary movement. Now Vouch joins their live stream, and they're creating this united progressive movement in order to save the genocidal Democratic Party while also pushing NATO support on the United States left the same way that Green parties all over Europe did. Yeah, it should piss you off. Why am I the only person covering this? Why am I the only person critical of this obviously fraudulent group? Because I warned you guys of the Howie Hawkins infiltration of the left. So Green parties all throughout Europe, they backtracked on their previous opposition towards NATO, and now all of them are pro-NATO parties in Europe. There is no left in Europe. They all support NATO. They all support Zelensky. Howie Hawkins was the Green Party attempt by the establishment to turn the Green Party pro-NATO. Thank God Joe Stein and Bush Ware stopped that shit. But there was an attempt. The same way that the Labor Party is full of NATO leftists is what the progressive Bernie Sanders, Matt Duss left, led by Hassan fucking Piker, is trying to promote in the United States. This is what Ryan Grimm, look at all these names. These people are bigger names than I am. Graham Plattner, prominent NATO leftist, great friend of Hassan Piker himself. Now do you guys see how fucked we are as part of the United States left? That this man is the voice of the left, and why I want to take him down, not leech off of his viewership like many other people. This man is an agent of the Democratic Party, and he is here to bastardize what it means to be a socialist. You're not a socialist if you're supporting the NATO regime and the Nazis in Ukraine. Ukraine banned the right to collective bargaining rights. Ukraine banned socialist parties. Now, you know the same thing that Hitler did? So in the United States left, you have Nazis like Vouch leading the left to support Nazis in Europe. But let's continue. Look, Progressive Victory has always been committed to pushing a political agenda that would defend the sovereignty of all people against unjust imperial interests. In January, so do you guys have if this is true, do you guys have a litmus test that all candidates must swear military funding towards Hamas? Do you require the candidates that you endorse to support funding Palestinian liberation groups? That is absolutely not the case. I bet, in fact, they probably won't endorse you unless you condemn Hamas. All the progressives condemn Hamas. So when they keep saying this shit, and I expose Ro Khanna in real time on this show on this bullshit. Whenever they say they support the spirit of resistance, that's complete and utter bullshit. I want to see if I can find that clip, because I think it's pretty important for this segment. Anyway, the rest is just filler, talking about their endorsement process. In the pledge, we included language reflecting our commitment to organizing for candidates willing to take a stand in support of both Palestine and Ukraine. Bro, Ukraine just passed anti-Semitism laws where any support for quote-unquote terrorist entities, aka Palestinians, will get you prison time. So in Ukraine, they literally criminalized Palestinian activism. Zelensky is funding the Israeli government and giving them drones that they are using on Palestinians and Iranians. To be both pro-Ukraine and pro-Palestine is completely incoherent, but do you see what the role of the progressive left? The role of the progressive left is to push confusing, incoherent politics upon the left in the United States. Pro-Ukraine, pro-Palestine. What kind of shit is this? So this explains everything. I think this is what some people said in response to this, because they was upset at Jose Vega, and Jose Vega was clashing with them, calling out their support for NATO. You see, their promotion of Volch makes 100% sense now. So Progressive Victory endorses Michael Blake because they had this big spout with Jose Vega. So they announced their support for a Zionist. Michael Blake, because look, they said, cool, we did endorse you anyway. And this is the guy that they just endorsed, a guy who's an outright Zionist, who spoke at AIPAC events. I'm going to listen to this. But what does it say about the progressive Democrat movement that they are willing to vote for and support and endorse a Zionist over someone who wants peace with Russia versus someone who is critical of the military alliance known as NATO? This is the guy that Progressive Victory just endorsed.
Took our first trips to Israel with AIPAC's Education Foundation. We found it.
They endorse the motherfuckers who are going on Israeli propaganda trips and pilgrimages. This is what the progressive movement is supporting. They're supporting this guy over Jose Vega because Jose Vega isn't pro-NATO. And I'm going crazy because I'm the only leftist in the United States to seem to be upset about this. To be upset over the NATO infiltration of people who call themselves socialists. People love Hassan Piker, and Hassan Piker is part of this group. And remember, I'm not part of the United States left. The United States left rejected me. This is the mainstream dominant voice and position of leftists in the United States to support Zionists over people who oppose NATO.
Each of us took our first trips to Israel with AIPAC's Education Foundation. We found inspiration in a country that mirrored our American values. Professionally, the trip was eye-opening for me. I visited Israel just as I was preparing to run for the state assembly in New York, and the opportunity to meet and connect with political leaders in Israel was invaluable. But personally, the trip was transformative. In Israel, I stood by the Sea of Galilee, read aloud the Sermon on the Mount. As a Methodist minister, nothing compares to the reading of those words in the very place where Jesus had spoken them. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. From entrepreneurship to political organizing to deepening my faith as a Christian, AIPAC and AIEF changed my life forever. Traveling to Israel made me a better legislator, a better activist. It helped me to understand that as a leader within my community and the Democratic Party, I have a responsibility to support America's friend and ally, Israel. And much like Ashley, I recently stepped up into a new role. This past February, I was elected a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Regardless of party affiliation, I believe we must unite to heal and strengthen our ties, because the world needs us to be unified for positive progression, not political rhetoric any longer.
This motherfucker was just endorsed by Progressive Victory. If you guys don't know what Progressive Victory is, it's essentially a new version of our revolution that has the complete and utter backing of the progressive Democratic establishment in the Bernie media industrial complex. If you don't know who they are now, you better get to know them. Crystal Ball and Breaking Points just did a massive stream fundraising for them and their politicians. And surprise, surprise, got way more views than we did. Like, they live streamed on Breaking Points. They live streamed it on Majority Report. It was a big movement where they brought people they brought Zionists like Michael Blake on. They brought the NATO left on, and they said, look, we're going to save the Democratic Party by supporting their same imperialist agenda. So Jose Vega called them out for this, saying, let me make it absolutely clear why I stand on this: abolish NATO and let Ukraine have elections again, which the tyrant Zelensky decided to suspend for a democratic country. Ukraine's sovereignty has been hijacked by the CIA and United States. We should atone for that by being involved in the rebuilding of Ukraine ASAP once we abolish NATO. This is the statement that led to progressive Democrats saying that, cool, we didn't endorse you anyway. What, you calling for elections in Ukraine? Who the fuck you think you are? What, you a Putin puppet? You guys see how they responded to this? Look at this. After that based ass statement by someone who I endorse and support, Jose Vega, friend of the show, we had him on many times before, their response to that obviously based position on Ukraine and calling for Ukraine to have elections again and opposing wars. Cool, we didn't endorse you anyway. If you want an actual progressive to vote for instead of Richie Torres or this idiot, go support Mike Blake, this black Zionist NATO leftist. People truly do not hate these people enough. It is just me. I feel like I'm going crazy being the only person calling these people out. I feel 100% isolated from the United States left, which is ultimately a good thing. This is why I don't view myself part of the left in the United States. I am just a communist. I'm an anti-imperialist. I'm a black liberation fighter. Call me whatever you want, but I am not this shit. And the fact that I'm not part of this group is why my number is not as large as them. I'm not part of the cult. I am irredeemable in the face of these people. Why you guys think Hassan Piker smeared me? Why you guys think they attack me? Why you guys think I'm blacklisted? Why do you think you don't see me on other independent media outlets? Even people who call themselves left. Why you guys don't think I'm never selected to co-host shows, for example? Because I am considered undesirable in the United States left because I don't want anything to do with the Nazi-supporting NATO leftists. Because these NATO leftists, who I call out all the time, they will never be able to explain this tweet to us. Whenever you bring up the fact that they are providing material funds and support to our Nazis and a Nazi movement, and we're supposed to be anti-fascist, the Nazis are the enemies of communists and socialists, and I'm seeing you fund Nazis, and people think we're supposed to be chill about it. Fam, if AOC and the squad had a perfect voting record on Palestine, I still wouldn't support them because supporting Nazis should be a red line for everybody. Why are we the only ones upset over left support for Nazism? Hassan Piker he don't give a fuck. He don't give a fuck that Ilhan Omar funds Nazis in Ukraine. He'd rather play video games with her. Don't give a fuck about AOC funding Nazis in Ukraine. This motherfucker will have a Jewish supremacist like Bernie Sanders on and not ask him one motherfucking question about Ukraine. Meanwhile, I'm going fucking crazy because everyone in the United States left would then look at Hassan Piker and say, look how base this motherfucker is. We give tongue bath interviews to Nazi supporters. Tens of thousands of viewers. I struggle to get 500. I don't get invited on shows. No one's sharing my clips. They sharing clips of fucking Nazi supporters. And that's the left in the United States. I know people don't like to hear it, but you got to have a mirror up to these people. Because they have Ro Khanna on, and they're like, hey, Ro Khanna, why are you so awesome? Can you talk about your coalition with Thomas Massie? No, I brought on Ro Khanna on, and I yanked his law degree from him because he couldn't explain why he used to support Nazis in Ukraine, and now he called him a liberation movement. In fact, these NATO leftists like Hassan Piker and Ro Khanna is doing massive damage to the Palestinian movement because the Nazis like Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar, they then will proceed to compare Palestinians to Nazis. They'll say, well, we support the Palestinians, so we got to support the Nazis too. How dare you? How dare you compare Palestinians to the Banderite Nazis in Ukraine, who Ro Khanna and the left in the United States used to call out? So you guys realize someone like me who's a millennial who lived through this? I remember Ro Khanna calling out the Nazis in Ukraine. I remember the BBC reports talking about the rise of neo-Nazism in Ukraine. I remember all the reports about the mass killings of ethnic Ukrainians ethnic Russians in the Donbass by the Ukrainian government. So you guys know how jarring it is when I see this whole history being completely whitewashed by not only the West, but progressives in the West. You have Hassan Piker, who's afraid to ask Bernie Sanders any questions about this because he will lose his access to him. But people want to tell me that Hassan Piker is base. The fuck you talking about? Will anyone bring on Ro Khanna and bring up this tweet like I did? Bring up how you guys are supporting Nazism in Ukraine and that's a deal breaker. They will never acknowledge this. For people only listening, this is what Ro Khanna used to say. Ever since the Orange Revolution began under President Bush, the United States have been complicit in the rehabilitation and spread of neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Enough is enough. Our government must stand up to Azov Battalion and other fascist groups. And then he deleted it right when Russia decided to do something about the Nazification in Ukraine. You guys see how he taken orders by the Democratic Party establishment? And Ro Khanna was speaking on the Progressive Left show. He was on the panel. And they was like, yeah, man, Ro, you going to run for president? Yeah, we would love for you to run for president, Ro. We want you to give even more support for Nazis in Ukraine. And NATO leftists would never, ever acknowledge that Ro Khanna tweeted this. In fact, I will be the only one who even asked some tough questions on Ukraine. Just for the sake of this segment, I think this clip is worthy of playing again. This is what happens when the progressive left scumbags have a conversation with the true leftists who's actually willing to ask them questions, unlike Hassan Piker, the Majority Report, and people who actually have access to these people. You notice Ro Khanna was one and done.
50%
This is how you interview these scumbag NATO leftists.
50% of all the food going to Africa comes out of Ukraine.
So, Ro, is it about rare earth minerals? Is it about money, or is it actually caring about the Ukrainian people?
So you guys see how I brought up Lindsey Graham's quote to Ro Khanna to break through the fraudulent bullshit on why he claims he supports Ukraine. He claims, and the liberals claim they support this current war because we're here to spread democracy. Meanwhile, if you listen to the neocons on the right, I love that they exist because they tell you the real reason why they're going to war. So as the progressive NATO left to tell you, oh, we got to stand with Ukraine because we support the spirit of revolution. Someone like Lindsey Graham, like, hell yeah, we need to support war with Ukraine because we get the rare earth minerals. we getting filthy rich off this war. That was literally what Lindsey Graham said. He like, we getting filthy rich off this war. So I showed Ro Khanna's Lindsey Graham quote to expose his bullshit, and you guys see he never recovered from that. Let's continue the clip.
So, Ro, is it about rare earth minerals? Is it about money, or is it actually caring about the Ukrainian people?
For me, it's about the principle of self-determination. I mean, that's what influenced me growing up, right? My grandfather's struggle against colonialism, the belief that people should have the right to have self-determination of their nationhood. It's why I support a Palestinian state, self-determination for Palestinians. It's why I support a Jewish state of Israel.
Do you support Hamas and the right for Palestinians to engage in self-defense against Israel?
I don't support Hamas.
So you don't support. So Hamas is an organization with Palestinians, correct? Israel is illegally occupying Gaza and the West Bank and committing a genocide according to international courts. If anyone has the right to self-defense, it will be Palestinians, aka Hamas.
Well, look,
so how do you oppose that, but you want to wage war with Russia because the United States is in their backyard?
I come from a tradition of belief that nonviolence demonstration and the tradition of Gandhi or King is what's going to help.
So why not apply it to Ukraine? There was a peace deal on the table.
Well, because that was an invasion of a sovereign state.
Israel's invading Palestine.
That's me revoking Ro Khanna's law degree in real time. But will Hassan Piker ever have someone like Ro Khanna on his show to do the same thing that I did and expose his incoherent ideology on NATO and Ukraine? So progressive victory. You guys won't support any politicians unless they provide material support for Ukraine. So will you guys have a litmus test where every single candidate must declare support for Hamas? No, they don't have it. And to be clear, I actually don't even like that comparison because I don't even like comparing Palestinians to Nazis. Yeah, that interview only get funnier. I love showing that clip because it's a gem. How many times are we going to get an opportunity like that, fam? You guys think that the eyes of the entire progressive movement wasn't watching my interview with Ro Khanna? They wanted to send NATO leftists into my show. That's why he asked to come on and try to see if they can influence our audience with their ideology. That was their ultimate test. And you guys notice after that interview, that's when the blacklist really intensified. That's when they're like, oh shit, we can't let this motherfucker near any one of us. We can't get this nigga a platform anywhere. He sees through our entire game. And yes, sir, yes, I do. And I will continue to call you guys out over and over again because I know the history of this shit. I am not part of the dumb left who takes the direction of my foreign policy based on what the DNC tells me. So every single person you see interviewing an AOC and Bernie Sanders, and they don't grill them the way me, a college dropout, someone who has no media training, like all these people, they have media trainings, they have producers who write for them, they have coaches. I'm just some motherfucking black guy in the Midwest, a college dropout, and I'm able to expose these people with law degrees like this, and you telling me that these other people who have media training, who have producers, who have all these fancy degrees, who part of the bourgeoisie left, they can't do what I do? Get the fuck out of here. You tell me they don't know about this? Remember how I explained to you guys all these people who compare Palestinians to Nazis actually get the comparison wrong? The ethnic Russians who've been victimized by the fascist Ukrainian government, they are the Palestinians. Ukraine is Israel. Why is Ukraine Israel? Because why is Israel able to engage in mass slaughter of Palestinians? Because they are funded and armed by the West. Who funded and armed by the West in this situation? Is it Russia or the Ukrainians? How are you guys this fucking stupid? In this situation, Israel is clearly the Ukrainian government that is armed by the West. If you're going to use this comparison, the ethnic Russians in Ukraine whose sovereignty been denied and who was victims of rampant killings with impunity, what does this headline remind you of? Look, this is an article from 2016. And bro, these stories are becoming more rare by the day because they are scrubbing the internet and stuff. Ask Zoya. Zoya knows. Bro, there's stories like these used to be all over the internet. You guys see they've been taking them down. Like CNN's been editing the old articles. UN report on 2014 to 2016 killings in Ukraine highlights rampant impunity. So the Ukrainian government was slaughtering ethnic Russians who opposed the Maidan coup with complete impunity. Once again, Ukraine are the Israelis. This is why supporting Palestine and supporting Ukraine is an incoherent position, and I will debate any motherfucker over this. I bet you Hassan Piker doesn't want that heat. There's a reason why Sam Cedar, despite these people know who I am, they would never bring me on like, hey, there's this crazy guy who said we should be pro-Russia, so I'm going to expose him. Why don't you guys expose me? Shouldn't I be easy to expose if I'm wrong? Because this is what you guys support. As you guys say that Russia engaged in evasion for no reason. But what's the term that every single media person is trying to say? Russia engaged in an unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. But real anti-imperialists and real motherfuckers who've been following this thing like I have my entire adult life, I know that there was anti-imperialists who was actually upset at Putin for not doing shit earlier. Ask Zoya. There were many ethnic Russians in the Donbass who felt like they was betrayed by Russia. There was these reports of people being upset at Russia and Ukraine because they felt abandoned. They're like, hey, we made this big risk and challenged the fascist Ukrainian government when we know that they will kill us. They burnt workers alive. What was it called? I forgot the incident name. Like, wasn't it like the Odessa massacre? Fuck, I forgot it. I know Zoya can help me with this, but where they burned many. Damn, I can't believe I'm blanking on this. They burned a ton of people alive, and that was sanctioned by the Ukraine. Yeah, not the Maidan coup. There's an incident I'm thinking of in particular where they burned a bunch of ethnic Russians alive. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'll look it up later so I can explain better later. So as all this stuff was going on, and the ethnic Russians in Ukraine was like, hey man, what, Putin, help! Motherfucker, help! Nigga, they slaughtering the fuck out of us. And then Ukraine ramped that up in the lead up of 2022. That's the Odessa massacre. I think I was right in the beginning. Yeah, it was the Odessa massacre. Yeah, you guys in chat was always on fire. Yeah, they stabbed pregnant women to death. Remember, my co-host, my booker, my friend, my therapist, Zoya's love. She's an ethnic Russian from Odessa and grew up in the Soviet Union. I got personal people who can inform me on this. Spoke to many people. The progressive NATO left will never, ever acknowledge any of this. What does that say about them? What does that say about them that they will never acknowledge the brutal killing of ethnic Russians by the Ukrainian government? Do they support it? It seems like to me they do. Your silence seems like tactical support of it, right? Now do you guys see why I view this as the litmus test? Well, I will never, ever in a million years support or vote for a NATO leftist. Cori Bush can go fuck herself as far as I'm concerned. You guys are supporting and providing material support for a Nazi movement that is ran and operated by George Soros. Look, back in 2015, George Soros and WF, World Economic Forum, young leader, Krista Freeland, openly boasted about Ukraine's leadership being owned and controlled by George Soros. Now do you know why these progressive Democrats support NATO? Listen.
I first met you in Ukraine in 1990 when you began those efforts. It's actually amazing in Ukraine, the new Ukrainian government, the new Ukrainian leadership. Everyone who I know in that group has been touched somehow by open society and by literally either people personally got a scholarship or someone, their wife got a scholarship. It's a really remarkable thing.
Well, this was for me quite an experience to see this, and I didn't realize actually how big an effect it has had over a 25-year period, because those were students. 25 years later, they were leaders.
25 years later, they are leaders. Who do you think they're talking about? They're talking about the current Zelensky regime, who was groomed from day one, ever since George Soros played a gigantic role in funding quote-unquote pro-democracy resistant groups in the Soviet Union. I think it's more accurate to call them pro-fascist groups. So you got to know George Soros played a big part in funding the resistance and played a big part of the fall of the Soviet Union. I may do a deeper dive. I did a lot of reading about this. I may do a deeper dive later. So the entire Nazi movement in Ukraine, the extremely anti-Russia, pro-Western politics in Ukraine, was crafted by George Soros' Open Society and countless NGOs. But we all know this story. The progressive left pretend they don't know this story. You want to know why? Because Progressive Victory, this new gigantic movement to say the Democratic Party and say the progressive movement, you want to know who they work close in tandem with? This is where things get very interesting, doesn't it? Because you got to see how I'm connecting everything. And no one else is noticing this shit. Breaking Points is part of this. Majority Report is part of this. Hassan Piker's part of this. This is a gigantic Bernie media industrial complex scam to turn the United States left pro-war and pro-NATO. Because you guys see how Progressive Victory, as well with Majority Report, once again, all these are left media institutions that are way bigger than I am. You guys see how they work in tandem with the Working Families Party? You guys remember the Working Families Party? We exposed them on RBN. I exposed them because I connected dots. You want to know who's never discussed the fact that the Working Families Party is funded by George Soros? Hassan Piker. Isn't it hilarious how dumb Hassan Piker keeps his audience by withholding this kind of information? Not doing deep dives into the true reason why we support the NATO proxy war. This is why I'm going crazy, because I am witnessing a dumb, suitable left being built in real time. Well, let me be clear. This suitable left always been here to manipulate the working class. It just hits a little bit different when you see it happening in real time. When you see it happening, you see it developing. We're seeing why Hassan Piker is being propped up, because they prop up the Working Families Party. And it is a fucking fact that the Working Families Party is funded by George Soros. I called that out when Zoran Mamdani took donations and support from the Working Families the Working Families Party and Open Society. And I did a statement where I was like, hey guys, you know that Zoran Mamdani is being supported by George Soros, right? And then the dumb left, oh, come on, Nick. Why are you pushing left, man? Don't you know we got to defeat Cuomo? Don't bring up the fact that he's being funded by George Soros. Look, other major Soros contributions this election cycle include, skipping down, the Working Families Party, who he donates to all the time in every single election. This is the party that Progressive Victory is coordinating with. And when you dive into it, Progressive Victory works closely with an organization that is imitating Track AIPAC called Track Ukraine, where they're tracking progressive and democratic candidates and demanding that they support Ukraine. So they're essentially a Ukraine AIPAC. They're demanding Democratic Party politicians support NATO and demanding their loyalty towards the NATO agenda. And here's Progressive Victory, once again supported by Hassan Piker, every single major progressive candidate who's running, Nina Turner, Val, bro, the entire progressive left outside of RBN is supporting this shit. They all supported Zoran. Look, you guys see how Progressive Victory is working with Track Ukraine? Track Ukraine that is being ran by Dylan Burns. Bro, this shit is getting extremely dark. You guys know who Dylan Burns is? Dylan Burns is a Fed. He literally was doing on-the-ground report for Ukraine, and he is the biggest supporter of NATO in the Bernie media industrial complex. He paints himself as a progressive. Bro, if you dive into Dylan Burns, bro, you're going to lose all faith in humanity. He's a close friend with Vaush. He was one of the people pushing the anarcho-Bionist bullshit. Look, reporting on the ground in Ukraine, journalist and streamer, and you have all these streams, him on the ground with Ukraine. Essentially, he's a Nazi pro-NATO war pig. Here he is, acknowledging that he has secret meetings with Progressive Victory. Look, spent last night meeting with Progressive Victory leadership and volunteered to talk Ukraine about setting standards to truly anti-war candidates that won't abandon Ukraine. So, bro, Progressive Voice, Nina Turner part of it, the entire United States left part of it, is having meetings with this neocon Fed boy, where he is setting the guidelines on what the progressive left is supposed to support. This should be a gigantic scandal for the progressive Democrat movement, but I'm the only one covering it. Look, here's Progressive Victory. Give Track Ukraine a follow. Massive respect for Dylan for taking this on and digging in his heels to protect Ukraine. Here's Progressive Victory being a sycophant supportive of Track Ukraine and the NATO left agenda. Look, this is who we are at Track Ukraine. And they're like, this is amazing. You guys see how there's an established, coordinated effort in order to build a CIA suitable left? A left that is supportive of NATO, and how Hassan Piker is playing a gigantic role in this? So now that you guys know that Progressive Victory is a neocon NATO psyop, let's rewind. Who's a part of this? Who's supporting Progressive Victory now that we know that Progressive Victory is a pro-war movement to elect progressives who support NATO? Now do you guys see why I did a roast video about these people? Now do you guys think I'm being over dramatic when I say the United States left is infested by Jewish supremacists and neocons? Now does it make sense that almost every single person on this list despise me and RBN? So now let's reintroduce these people now that we know who the Progressive Voice is. These are the people who was rallying in support of this agenda to have pro-NATO politicians. And if you're ever bored, check out the live stream. I watched like maybe 15 minutes of their live stream, and it was just as cringe as you can imagine. It was them soliciting working class funds and donations to prop up this movement that's going to take over the Democratic Party, guys. And look who's playing a big role in it. Now do you guys see why there's so much Democratic Party attacks on Hassan Piker? While corporate media is propping up Hassan Piker? So then you would think Hassan Piker is the babyface. Look, the establishment hates Hassan Piker. Then Hassan Piker then turns around and endorses a pro-war group like Progressive Voice. and doesn't offer them any critical questions. Now that we know who these people are, look at the lineup again. Now the inclusion of Vosh here makes 100% sense, right? Remember when people were like, bro, what the fuck? Vosh is part of this group? Remember I reacted, I was like, bro, Vosh is part? Now it makes 100% sense. This is the NATO left. I'm showing you guys who the NATO left consists of, so there's no more confusion when I bring up this topic. Look, Nina Turner there. Gigantic NATO leftist. Graham Plattner. Graham Plattner is endorsed by Progressive Voice. So doesn't that show what kind of how he's going to govern? He's going to be pro-NATO. Ben Dixon. Imagine being black and pro-Ukraine. Imagine being that much of a shameless Negro. Bro, they would spit in your face if you was organizing in Ukraine. One of the biggest Uncle Tom sellouts I've ever seen in my life. Francisca Fiorentini. I think she blocked me. She's another person who blocked me. They got fucking Joanne Reed. Oh my God, dude. I think I skipped over this last time. Joanne Reed, now part of the progressive movement, organizing with Hassan Piker. What the fuck is this? Probably some random streamer. India, well, look at all these. This might as well be a Klan rally to me. Look, Dylan, oh my God. I didn't even notice this when the first time I covered this. Bro, this right here should have been the sign that this shit was a gigantic psyop. If you want to learn more about Dylan Burns, look into him. He is 100% a Fed propped up by Ukraine. He's like a big, gigantic supporter of NATO. He's a big, super anti-tanky guy. He's like, oh, we got to get rid of the tankies in the left. He is, I think he's worse than Vosh. Like, bro, Vosh got a lot of his politics from Dylan Burns. He's not that relevant, so I make sense that you guys don't know him. But trust me, the fact that Dylan Burns is part of this, bruh. This is the face of the new Progressive Democratic Party. And this is the people, these are the people who are going to rally behind AOC in 2028. God help our soul if she gets elected. But we can keep going. The NATO left is real. But let's wrap this segment up here. That'll let me know when to cut the segment. Zoya, what's popping, my friend? Another 2-hour plus stream, even though I told myself I wasn't going to do that. But hey, man, that's how it goes nowadays. This segment went way longer than I thought, but there were so many receipts against these people. Now, our revolution is openly endorsing billionaires. Like, the progressive left is completely and utterly cut. Like, we're now back in Tom Steyer. So they're supporting billionaires, NATO. This is the mainstream left of the United States, guys, while we are just on the edges. I mean, we on the edges, radicalizing as many people we can, but we are the fringe in the United States. This is the dominant United States left, and this is why true leftists all throughout the world views the United States left as a complete joke, as they should. So with that said, Zoya, let's wrap this up. Zoya's love, Zoya's life. What's pop, my friend?
Oh, the chat is blowing up.
I wish I could read more of it as I was going, but you guys know I had a lot of receipts. I was in live cooking. It's hard to read chat sometimes. That's why we do these extra segments here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. But go ahead, Zoya.
The chat mentioned Nina's "We're Gonna Be All Right." We're gonna be all right.
I didn't find that video. That's a hood certified classic. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. Yeah, this is it's the only reason I can laugh at this because it literally leaves me with so much dread that these people are the representatives of the left and not me. It's not even about like clout. It's not even about me wanting to be famous or whatever. It's like, bro, these are the people who are dictating what it means to be the resistance, and that's horrific. That's a horrific sign for the state of the working class in the United States. And best believe this whole progressive victory thing, save and bookmark this segment because these are the people who are going to play a gigantic role in helping elect AOC 2028 in normalizing her support for NATO among the left position. And will I be able to stop this from happening? Probably not. Like these people have way more influence than I do. Question me now, quote me later. Everything you guys are hearing about Hassan Piker, all these fake ass WWE style attacks that the Democratic Party establishment is making against him, it's all designed so he can be propped up and then he can prop up progressive voice, and then he's going to endorse AOC in 2028. And people may follow his lead because they think, oh, he was attacked by the establishment. If he's endorsing AOC, then she must be the real deal. Fam, I see through everything they're about to do. And what they're about to do is going to work. And we're watching this crash happen in slow motion in real time. And it's crazy. Like there's a real good chance that AOC is going to win in 2028 because they're going to use this strategy, fam. Hope you guys ready. Anyway, so you can take over for real now. I need a break. This 2 hours of me ranting. I need a break. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let's get into some Q&A.
Yeah, these people are there to indoctrinate Americans that compromising with fascism is actually a pragmatic position. And as we see genocides in our lifetime, you know it's not. Exactly. Let's get into it. Yep. Ronnie, LOL, yeah, at least serfs had land and free time. Violin, serfs were expected to produce and be healthy and skillful. Worse than serfs, 100%. James Starks, good to see you. No draft since the 1970s. Now they want to bring it back for multiple wars. It's actually worse than a draft because they want automatic enlistment as soon as you turn of age. So it's actually worse than a draft. GBUZ, hello world. Hi, welcome to the show. Louis the Rintalamon, I made a pitcher of lemonade with my 5-year-old today, which is doing more for humanity than Palantir has ever done. Well said. M Sparks, thank you for the $2. Salute right back at you, comrade. Violin, their attitude is that they are above the law since no one punished them. They actually literally write the laws. There's a study, you guys can Google it, that the people passing the laws, they don't even read the laws. They're written by lobbyists who are funded by the technocrats. Marvin Vargas, yo, welcome to Nick's Rant Factory. Rashid Fassad, the divine right of the oligarchs. Looks environmental. Obama changed the metrics and still had a 90% civilian kill rate, if I remember correctly. That is absolutely correct. You're right. Mr. Blamo, remember history is not written by the people. It is written for you. It's up to you to look into things. People have been trying to destroy Russia for 1,000 years. You'll read nothing on it. Yeah, multiple countries invaded Russia after the revolution as well. James Starks, like, subscribe, and share this informative video. All power to Nick and Zoya. All power to all people. Thank you.
Yeah, big shout out to my brother James, OG organizer. And you guys liking and sharing, that's the only way we can help break the algorithm. So I appreciate anyone who does. I really need you guys' help to help break this YouTube censorship and suppression.
Faggots Against Genocide. Good to see you again. I see you on Twitter too. 90% of America's history is war. I would say 100%. America averages 46 bombs a day last time I looked it up. I think those numbers are higher now. Dan, how many were killed in Venezuela? A couple of dozen of Cuban soldiers? Yeah, that's true. But the military stood down. So definitely... like always, like with Thomas Sankara, like Lumumba, there are always traitors within that get bribed to betray the people. So we have to be very vigilant against them. Lorshak Molse, how did all those GM and Ford engines get into Hitler's trucks driving to Moscow? Yeah, fascism started in America. You guys should read Hitler's American Model. It's all about how Nazi Germany was actually modeled after America. So The OG Nazis were here and still are. Mr. Blamo, the West recruited the Nazi and propelled them east. This started World War II. Absolutely. There were plans Britain was making, and they were really pissed about the revolution, and they didn't want it to get to their countries. And before that, they wanted Russia for resources. Kat Terrell, they view us as undesirables as well. Make no mistake on that. Yep. Faggots Against Genocide. Did you know that Japan has a military base in Africa, in Djibouti? Yeah, there's a reason they were allied with the Nazis. They are imperialists. Sherry, Nick, when China had its civil war, the Communist Party went into Tibet and killed a lot of fellow Chinese because they did not want to succumb to said Communist Party. Just saying. So I strongly suggest people who think this way read up on the atrocities that were being committed in Tibet by the feudalist society. People were being skinned alive. They were kept in chains, completely emancipated, and that was over 90% of society. And religion was weaponized to do this, like, oh, it's your karma. You have to work to purify yourself. So I know, when something goes against our beliefs, especially that have been so powerfully indoctrinated into us, it can challenge us, but we have to look past our biases and read things outside of Western sources and talk to people from there and look at the statistics of how well people are living in Tibet today.
Exactly. I bet this person still think that Dalai Lama is a good guy.
Yeah, Dalai Lama worked for the CIA. Open fact. You guys can Google it.
Like when I read people say stuff like that, like, bro, where do you even get this? You know this shit came directly from the BBC. Like, where are you guys getting this information from? Like, because it just CIA talking points, like the whole Tibet China thing has been long debunked. Like, why would you believe any Western sources about what they say about China? Like, I bet once again, I think just probably still believe that Dalai Lama's a good guy. Like, come on, guys, decolonize your mind.
Exactly. John Moran, I'm in Germany. Our chancellor is from BlackRock. Our condolences. Whatever, man. West Germany was never denazified. Neither was the US. Looks Environmental. Biden expanded the violent domestic extremism definition for a reason. Absolutely. A lot of people missed that happening, but Biden really expanded the definition of domestic terrorism, where basically if you're protesting anything, this was used against indigenous people trying to stop pipelines. They were charged as domestic terrorists. And then they went after Cop City protesters who were just organizing bail funds, and they charged them with racketeering. So absolutely, the police state expanded widely under Biden.
Yeah, meanwhile, they're talking about Project 2025. Like, bro, remember Ken Klippenstein, who never reported on the fact that Biden labeled socialists as an extremist group? You guys remember that? I covered it. I did a hotspot video about it, how Biden labeled people who are anti-capitalist to be extremist groups. No one reported on it. I did. Then Donald Trump did the same thing, and all of a sudden, Ken Klippenstein like, I had this groundbreaking report about how Donald Trump wants to criminalize socialism. And then I was like, hey, bro, you realize that happened under Biden, right? This is essentially Donald Trump reaffirming that. So both parties work to implement fascism, and please don't think that it just Republicans engage in Project 2028. They both work in tandem with each other.
Well said, Nick. In Fied, there was a theatrical police chase where they used surveillance in San Francisco. It was so odd, and within days of its surveillance plan announcement, they stage things. They definitely stage things and do false flags 9/11 in order to justify expending imperialism and the police state at home. Mr. Blamo, the Nazis ran west, tail tucked, started their Nazi group called NATO. Exactly. Exactly. Eugene Clark, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Really appreciate the support. You guys are keeping the lights on. Indofied, it's like an evil set of rules from Dungeons and Dragons. I think they can't distinguish roleplay from reality. That's talking about the technocrats in Silicon Valley, and I think that's absolutely true. And imperialism now. Tehran is being bombed again. Yes, that's unfortunate. Just so you guys know, right now, we're focused on this because it's in mainstream news. But literally every day during the U.S. empire, some country is being bombed. Every single day. It's just not always in the spotlight. Vasa dams. NATO was created to destroy and suppress communist movements. Greece had one of the largest communist organizations in the world. Churchill enabled a civil war in Greece because of the rise of the communists. Yeah, they were doing this globally. I wonder why they have to fight so hard to sabotage and stop communism if it doesn't work. Left of tube. ExxonMobil and Chevron record profits. Americans getting extracted. It's a rigged economy. It's a rigged game. Chris H. Good point on that, Saint Nick. Anyone that calls the Iranian government a regime has got to have some of them white sheets in the closet.
Bro, I'm sorry. If I listen to if you listen to CNN, MSNBC, these white liberals say Iranian regime the way like a redneck says the N word, like the Iranian regime. I'm like, God damn! I feel like they're saying a slur. Like to me, whenever I hear it, the Iranian regime. Like, shut the fuck up. Whenever I hear someone say that, I'm like, man, you gotta be fucking. That's extreme level of Western chauvinism and white supremacy. Like anyone who don't believe, if you have a government that resists the West, who have even a different governing system than you call a regime. It sounds like it's damn near a slur to me. Yeah, it's a hard R. Yeah, the fucking regime, the Iranian regime. Dude, for real, these white liberals fucking drive me crazy. I've been watching them more than Fox. Like, obviously, Fox is deranged, but MSNBC and CNN, their anti-Persian racism just oozes through the screen. Like one example, like with Katie Tur, I saw she was saying, and I use her as an example, but they say this all the time. You know how Donald Trump like lies about the ceasefire process? They keep doing this thing where they're like, well, is Donald Trump lying or the Iranians lying? Well, it's clear that the Iranians telling the truth, right? They're like, well, we don't know if Donald Trump is lying or the Iranians are lying because even though Donald Trump is a liar, we can't trust those filthy Iranians. Like, that's the narrative they keep using. Like, well, we can't trust them. They know to lie. It just seems extremely fucking racist to me. Like, it rubs me the wrong way. But anyway, let's continue.
And they do that for everything. We in United States have billionaires, but everywhere else they're oligarchs.
Yeah.
It's what's the difference? Dictators over there, presidents here.
We have undercover cops. They have secret police.
Yeah.
That's an undercover cop, bro.
We have jails. They have prison camps.
Yeah.
Oh man, the double standards. Casey McCoy. Micah's voice gives me a headache. Imagine Joe. Pro Mark. JD is Peter Thiel's direct proxy. Absolutely. People forgot how terrible Biden was. Don't worry, we will keep reminding them.
I won't let them forget. I promise to God I won't let them forget.
Never forget, Nick. Lance Oakland, same people that say Ukrainians are freedom fighters call Hamas terrorists. That's how the game is played. Kill your egos. Russia selling oil 98 a barrel. 2 months ago, it was 45. They doubled it. Cha-ching, bitches. So much losing for Russia. Oh, man, don't tell Joe about this. Crazy Cat, I don't know how Ukraine has any people left to fight. They have a lot of foreign mercenaries too. We only hear about them when they're coming home in body bags, but there are a lot of foreign mercenaries. Very sadly, from all over the world, from Uganda, from Colombia, they're using poor people and giving them just money they have no other way to make. And people sell out, go to Ukraine. There's videos of foreign mercenaries like, get me home, get me out of there. And they take their passports so they can't leave. So don't go to Ukraine. They'll force you to die in the trenches.
Yep.
Looks environmental. You have Ukrainian Nazis on TV talking about telling their kids to beat the shit out of kids that speak Russian. Just what the fuck? Yeah, it's been decades of this. They're calling it de-Russifying Ukraine, but really it's just ethnic cleansing. Arbiter class. Zelensky was no doubt a fool to cater to right-wing nationalist fanatics. No, he sold out. He's a multimillionaire now, and he did a show about being president and doing all of these things before he was elected. So this is just a groomed puppet. Marvin Vargas. The Ukraine loves it because they can keep on getting weapons, steal them, resell them in the black market. It's a huge problem. There's definitely weapons that are being shipped to Ukraine that end up in completely different parts of the world where some regime changes are happening. Even Ibrahim Traore has talked about it, how Ukrainian weapons end up there. Indofied. It's sad because so many Americans on the right, former MAGA, who are anti-genocide and disenchanted, are thinking of voting for lunatic Dems. They need to hear about third parties before they go to neo-lib party. It's definitely sad. Right-wingers are often easier to talk to than liberals. And we definitely have to work on our outreach to them as well, because they are working class, they are proletariat, they agree with us. Even the polls show that most of the country agrees with things like healthcare, with things like opposing the war in Iran. So we got to do better outreach to unite the working class past all of the labels. Arbiter class. The opposition of imperialism is existential for proletariat interests. Absolutely. Spiffy Keen. It just shows how dependent the American people are on recognizable figures to tell them what to think. We live in an insane asylum. Absolutely. We need to get over that celebrity worship. Looks environmental. Kayfabe. Yes, it's all bread and circus. You know, the Coliseum has gone digital.
Hey, Zoya, do you have any idea how many people respond to me like, hey, Nick, don't you see how much the Democratic Party establishment hates Hassan Piker? That why isn't there evidence that he's a good guy? Like, bro, the amount of people I've seen say this shit, like, and replies to me on Twitter and stuff.
Please Google controlled opposition, guys. I mean, it wouldn't work if Hassan didn't agree with us on the most obvious things. Then he would not work as controlled opposition. He has to appear as if he's on our side. He has to attract hatred from the right. That's his job. And then he'll lead you to vote blue no matter who. Look at the end game. Look at what solutions they're proposing. Are they leading you down a path that's a dead end? That is the question that you should be asking, not who hates him or who doesn't hate him within the capitalist oligarchy. James Starks. Howie Hawkins is a co-founder of the USA Green Party. I highly recommend everyone look up the episode. It's a couple of years old now, where Nick dismantles Howie Hawkins. I told you guys before, we're not doing any kind of cult of personality or cult for any party. We hold people accountable, as you saw Nick doing with Ro Khanna. And he didn't even mean to destroy Howie Hawkins. He was like, come on, you don't agree with this, do you?
Before he went on here and started rushing again, I'm like, bro, you're cooked. You're cooked, bro. Like, bro, do you do any research into us? The man really started rushing again, and I played a big part in helping purge the Howie Hawkins ideology out of the Green Party. I told him straight up, like, bro, if Howie Hawkins and his influence have anything to do with this fucking party anymore, RB, we're destroying you guys. And Howie Hawkins has lost a ton of clout and influence in the Green Party. I don't want to spill too many. I got a lot of inside story for you guys regarding this, but bro, trust me, there are a lot of people in the Green Party who hated Howie, and we actually played a really big role in getting that fucking NATO bullshit, Howie Hawkins agenda outside the Green Party. Jill Stein is staunchly anti-NATO. Like, I don't want to say anything open, but let's say Jill Stein is no fucking Howie Hawkins, and I'm glad that she stepped up and the Green Party is moving in more of a Jill Stein direction than Howie Hawkins. Like, he tried, but the Green Party members I know do not like that fucking guy. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't want to say too much, but trust me, Holly Hawkins had no clout in the Green Party no more.
Yeah, and no one is above criticism. If someone is saying something cringe, we're going to hold them accountable. Just like we wanted Howie Hawkins to be better than he was, but he let us down, and we were honest with everyone. So that's how we're going to continue. Let them prove it to us with their actions. And Jill Stein put her body on the line, so that is direct action. Don Hooligan, awesome. Resist all the data centers if you like having water and electricity. Anti-imperialism.
How many times, we had Jill Stein on multiple times that we never had to expose her, you know what I mean? We never caught Jill Stein saying some bullshit. Because if Jill Stein went on here and started defending NATO, there would have been a problem. But she never did. Her positions are 100% legit as far as I'm concerned. I never had to worry about fuck, Jill Stein might say something stupid. She has a great analysis on many different topics. And I also greatly respected her because she supported a very strong reparation program that she don't get enough credit for. Her reparation program was on point. Put respect on Dr. Jill Stein's name, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and maybe some people don't know, but the DNC went after her personally and financially, and they really tried to destroy her life, even privately. There's no advantage to her doing this. She could have sold out, been an establishment person, went on book tours, campaigned for Kamala, but taking this route, opposing the entire empire, it definitely puts you in hot water. That's why, when someone is getting arrested for protesting genocide, then we have to treat him as a comrade, and we can still have criticisms, but let's not forget who's actually out there fighting with us. James Stark, social democrats have historically aligned with the ruling classes in every country. That's just history. Get to know your history. Left of two, Bakari Sellers still active as a Dem operative. The trash never reaches the dumpster. Yeah, and Bakari Sellers was helping Nina Turner's campaign. Six pack for me. Thank you for the $5. The U.S. NATO Israeli axis of evil, not Z. Oh, not Z. Very clever. And Shadow Walker. I blocked everything of Pikers and his shitlib uncle's clan. Yeah,
big W for this guy. Big W. I tell you guys, I'm not gonna be able to fucking change anything about Hassan Piker and his clout. But at least what I'm gonna do, at least make sure our community knows. You know what I mean? It's the only thing I can do. I mean, I'm not fucking canceling Hassan Piker. I don't have that power. The only thing I can do is make sure you motherfuckers don't fall for it. The only thing you can control is the reality of your community, and that's what I'm trying to do.
And it really is a clan because they have group chats, they coordinate messaging because they'll all tweet out the same thing at the same time if you guys pay attention. So it really is this millionaire club. Harold got bottom. Entrepreneurship equals trying actively to enslave working people for the capitalist death cult. Yes, what a good definition. Chris H. Nick, can you get on the No Jumper podcast? You need someone who can amplify the message. Guys, it would be super awkward if Nick just hit up people that he doesn't know and be like, hey, want to have me on your show? What works better is if you guys reach out to these people and say, hey, I'd like to see you interview this guy. If enough of you are saying that, then someone might actually reach out and schedule something. But it's really dependent on all of you, the audience. Rashid Fasad, shaking my head at this. What's that? Oh, it's a raccoon. That was the preacher that visited Israel.
Yeah.
Faggots against genocide. You are not alone. That is so true, and we must always remember that. Adam Zeal, thank you for the $10 super sticker. Sherry, preach Nick. Lorshak, social democracy is the moderate wing of fascism. Stalin. Never forget. If you study history, you'll understand why. Marvin Vargas, Nick on fire, rant monster. Is our favorite rant monster. Andre Chevrier, I love to hear Nick exposing the garbage face of the left. Yeah, he's really good at it too. Under N6 low. Nah, this is Nick cooking. Someone was worried you're going to have a heart attack. There was a response to that. James Starks, educate, Nick. Each one, teach one. Absolutely. This is why we do it. Really, the love of teaching. It's the love of doing this. No one's getting rich doing this.
For the love of the game. I radicalize people for the love of the game, fam.
Yep. Whatever, man. The USA left are Republicans. Objectively, absolutely. They're Republicans who just, have a few culture war issues with their other Republican friends. BZ's Queen Bee. This is Prime Nick tonight. Absolutely. So glad you guys are here and tuning in. Patty Hoge. Stay strong, Nick. Violin. The effing extreme right is more honest. Hey.
I wouldn't go that far, but I hear what you're saying. I get where you're coming from, though. I hear you, brother.
Ryan Newton. Nick is cooking, and I am here for it. Radical education. Ro was so cooked, laughing my ass off. Shit was hilarious.
I cherish that interview. That interview is a gem, because you guys know that shit never happened again.
Yeah, never.
Can you imagine what's that lady named Cap Abugala or whatever? Can you imagine like Kat came on the show like, hey, I want to come on the RBN and make my messages to bro, they would never do that shit ever again.
See, in the chat knows. Violin pro tip, you only get to do that once.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. For sure people are like, no, stay off of RBN, that Nick guy. Mic check. You put the fear of exposure in them, Nick. Gustav Gruber, yeah, you destroyed Ro easily. It's insane how easy it is.
That law degree is mine now, boy. That law degree is mine. I can't wait to take another fucking doctorate or law degree eventually. It's gonna happen. It's happening.
Ava M1X2E. Nick is on fire. He's always on fire. He's always in the lab cooking. Terry Carter. Hello, Nick and everyone. First time here. I'm Terry from the Sabby tribe. Welcome, Terry. Always good to see people coming over from Sabby show.
Yeah, he caught one hell of an episode.
Yeah. Great introductory episode. Violin, 100% CIA suitable left. Yes. Mike check. Thank you for the 1999. Thank you for your righteous rage, Nick. Free Palestine. Yeah, we have a right to be angry. We're not angry enough. We just shouldn't stop at anger. We need to challenge that anger into action.
Bro, I'll be preparing these streams. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep it cool today. When I'm like, I need to be more professional. So you know what? No, I'm not gonna be upset. Then 10 minutes stream, motherfucker, fuck the NATO left. It's only a matter of time, bro. Like I get legitimately fired up talking about this kind of stuff. That's why I have like a certain game plan, but it's hard when I'm actually talking about stuff that I'm legitimately fired up about. Like I saw the bodies that you guys did too. Like how you guys think I'm coping with seeing all the dead children? Not well. It's very hard to come on here with a news voice afterwards after seeing all the death and destruction your government is responsible for. So I'm glad at least some people enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's never lose that righteous anger. ARJ, thank you for the $5. Once Progressive Victory gets their presidential candidate elected, they can transition seamlessly to their new name. Progressive G-side, shaking my head. Yeah, I mean, it's the history of America. Cyantha Hall, thank you for the $3 super sticker. And that brings us to the end of your guys' chats. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please follow us on all platforms, Telegram, X, Rumble, Kick. Also, we have all the links in the description, including for the bonfire campaign. It is merch, all originally designed by Erin. 100% of the proceeds go to her and Gaza funds. We are choosing different Gaza funds to spotlight and donate to, but 100% will go 100% will go towards the graphic designer and Gaza funds. Split 50-50 between the two. So thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate you guys watching, appreciate the support. You could be anywhere, but you're here with us. We love you guys. Love is something they cannot commodify. And remember, Che Guevara said that one of his main guiding principles was love. Our love for each other is what creates solidarity, what allows us to compromise with each other, understand each other, and unite against the ruling class. The ruling class is winning because they're organized. As long as we organize the working class as much as they're organized, we will win. Please take care of yourselves. Remember, everything that you do matters. Love and solidarity.
Yeah, Zoe is love, Zoe is life. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like and share the stream. See you guys on Friday. Take care.